Hey y'all, GameBuddy here. I wanted to give a little heads up that while this is a fun episode full of a lot of positivity towards Shadow the Hedgehog and his game, we do get into some potentially hot button issues in the Sonic fandom, like the voice cast and the localization for Sonic games as a whole. I only say that so if that's not something you want to hear us blab about, you're free to just skip ahead a few minutes. On that same subject, I forgot to bring up a great article from the blog Leaked Experience called How to Criticize a Translation Effectively and How to Identify Bad Faith Criticism, which is a title that I think is pretty self-explanatory, and we've included it in our show notes. I feel comfortable saying that while we pick on some of these Sonic series translation choices, we all know that localization as a whole is a very complicated, artistic process that takes a lot of work and passion, and so we always strive to make sure we're not just dogging on some poor, underpaid writer who's trying to get a script just right. So with that out of the way, enjoy the show.
Welcome to The Shadow is Always Looming, a show where four friends have chill discussions about Shadow the Hedgehog to distract themselves from Gun and their own rapidly waning ability to remember Maria. I'm ShadowTheJake.
I am GameBuddy. This is who I am.
I'm the good CyberLink. No, I'm the evil CyberLink. No, I'm the neutral, slightly above neutral CyberLink.
Oh, you've got the voice for it this time.
This is who I am.
I'm Faulerro, or am I? I don't know. Maybe. Ooh.
Maybe you're an android Faulerro.
And I'm Midnight, maybe the only person in all of existence to have subjected himself to all 326 endings, plus the final thing of this game. I don't know why I've done this to myself.
Great, thunderous round of applause right out of the gate. Oh my gosh.
Congratulations, and why?
The real answer? Somebody bet me to do it.
Oh my goodness.
Your name will be etched in stone, my friend.
Remind me, how long did it take you to get through all of those?
Technically, I would be, because I did stream this. The clips that I was looking through said 2 years ago, but that's like 2.5 years ago. But then I stopped for a while because of the way that I was trying to do it all on stream. But then the person that bet me to do it was like, you don't have to only do all of this on stream. It was just they wanted to see all the new stages when I got to one, because getting to Lost Impact took me like several months, because that's at the bottom, because the order from 1 to 326 goes from True Evil to True Hero. So then I just ended up playing a lot of it off stream, but it ended up being from about 60 runs to 326 was only like 2-3 months.
Wow.
Wow, man.
Woo, man.
By the way, we're talking about Shadow the Hedgehog, the game. That's the
Yes.
Yes.
If you didn't get the
over
hint.
and over and over. So you must be really familiar with Westfully at this point, because every run
For 326 times, baby. Yeah, Westfully is, yeah, it's a second home at this point.
I know we were chatting before recording that I said I hoped that after a certain amount of runs it just becomes like Zen meditation, that you close your eyes as soon as the loading screen for Westopolis is done, and then open them and you've done that level already.
There were a couple that were like that. Yes, that is very much how it happened. As
Midnight really be like, you wouldn't last an hour in the asylum I grew up in.
and it's just Westopolis.
So before we get too into our discussion today, Midnight, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your history with Sonic?
Oh, specifically with Sonic?
Or just your entire history from A to B.
I'm probably one of the people, one of the a not very special story with Sonic. Mentioned when we were talking beforehand, yes, my GameCube, one of my first actual consoles. The 2 games that it was bundled with was Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Heroes. So some of my earliest games were Sonic games, but I'm also young, so I didn't play any like the Genesis stuff. I didn't really play a lot of Sonic for a while. I ended up, for whatever reason, picking up Black Knight, and I like Black Knight. Sue me for that one.
Oh no, such an unpopular opinion on the internet, the Sonic community these days. Black Knight is good, actually.
No, like they say, that game goes hard on YouTube. No, just kidding. We're gonna do those games soon, and I'm because there are so many people now who are like, I like that one. I'm actually looking forward to, like, I don't know, trying Black Knight again, because I don't think I have since it came out. So no, you are safe here.
my reasoning for that, again, being a little bit younger, I'm just a goof for King Arthur stuff, so I mean, Sonic King Arthur, yeah. But then that was like the last Sonic game that I played for a really long time. I went back to Adventure 2 several years ago, just because I remember loving Adventure 2 to death, again, on my GameCube. It was one of my favorite games, because Chow Garden, I'm one of those people. And then, no, it was just, like, not a whole lot of Sonic for any amount of time, because I was one of those people that sort of fell into man, Sonic was never that great, or, like, the games kind of felt whatever, and I never picked up any of the newer ones when they did exist. But then, as if to torment me on one of my birthday, my birthday celebrations, a friend bet me to play through all 326 versions of Shadow the Hedgehog, and it, as weird as it sounds, it made me remember why I enjoyed playing Sonic games, even though it's Shadow the Hedgehog. So some people will side-eye me and be like, what?
I have to ask, did this bet have stakes, or was this just like you said, all right, I'm going to commit to the bet?
Well, I say bet, but a friend of mine, he in fact threw a decent chunk of money at me and said, do this.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful.
Yep.
So it wasn't just do it, coward. It was do it, coward, and get money.
Yes, it was do it, coward, here's some money, and then you finished it, slapped me upside the head with a little bit more, and said, good job.
Excellent.
So, no, I would say I've had a fairly run-of-the-mill experience with Sonic over the years, just being somebody that younger enjoyed the games, didn't ever really think about why or whatnot, and then fell off for a while, and then I touched a game again, and I'm like, you know what, actually, this stuff is good.
Yep. Sonic has that effect. I gotta pull the curtain back that I played a bunch of Shadow the Hedgehog for this episode, and it was such an experience that what I did before we recorded was I played through most of Sonic Adventure 2 as well, because I was like, hey, you know what? I like that game too, so it was a cool comparison, and just, I was high on my Sonic is fun, actually.
I didn't get to play as much Shadow as I wanted to, but man, this episode did not want me to be part of it in some ways.
No. Yeah.
Because, so, like, aside from just the usual excuses of, like, hey, life is busy and, like, things come up, I emulated this game as much as I could on the PC, because I also tried to play it as much as I could on the GameCube, because I still have my disc, but like, one of the times I was playing, like, Westopolis, the first level, and I could not, like, I literally had one guy left to beat up, I think, like, one of the aliens to beat up, and I could not find him, so I just stopped playing. And then another time, like, I was trying to play, and I got a couple levels in, I think, and then the disc just stopped reading.
Oh,
so here's my shout out to emulation. Like, just do it. Screw Nintendo. Screw Sega. Just do emulation. Screw them.
Yeah. I gotta say, I did play it myself on on my Wii U with Nintendo, which is, technically it's as close as I can get to real hardware. I did play the Reloaded mod, which is probably best played on an emulator with lots of quality of life improvements I'll get into. But that is the best, if you're going to go back to some of these older games, I do believe in, you should give yourself the best scenario possible. Like, if there is a version, official or not, that we fixed these, well-known bugs, you should play that one. Same how we recommend as far as, if you're going to play Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and can't get a Dreamcast, that PC version has been fan modded so good. So yeah, give yourself a fighting chance if you're going back to some of these older games.
I did emulate the GameCube version because I actually do have a physical copy of the GameCube version. Just can't find it. But you know what? I played it as true to the original as I could, and I did play through all the necessary paths. I did all 10 endings that you need to get to unlock the proper one. It doesn't really matter what route you do, and by the end I was just like, let's just go through it for the quickest route possible because I need to get these done. So I have played through it all the way as needed, just not to a perverse degree as Jeremy tried and Midnight somehow did.
Is this the part where I mention I also even as much as I played Shadow the Hedgehog as a young lad, I never saw The Last Way at all. So I hadn't, and then I was also banned from playing The Last Way until I was completely done with the game.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to play.
So he could not do The Last Way until he did all those routes.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I mean, the level itself is not exactly anything to run home to. It's like a rehash of Final Haunt, except you have to use Chaos Control.
Yeah.
But, man, that's wild.
I completely forgot about that because it was like, oh, do I get to get the Shadow Rifle to make my life easier? And my friend said no.
Oh man.
So I had to play the whole game without the Shadow Rifle.
Oh man.
Boy.
Before we get too deep into the conversation, can I tell a funny story of how I acquired Shadow the Hedgehog as a kid or as a teen?
Oh yeah,
please.
Yes.
So let's see, it was the game came out in 2005, right?
Yes.
Yes.
November.
Okay. Yes. So I was a teen at the time. I was 15, and I had asked for this game for Christmas because, Sonic sick. That's what I am.
Me too.
That's what we all are. And I asked for it either from my parents or from my uncle, and near the end of the day, we were at a family member's house exchanging gifts, and my uncle gave me a wrapped present that when I unwrapped it, it was a package of underwear. and I tried to be really grateful. I was like, "Oh, cool, thank you. I could definitely use these." And he's like, "Open it up." And inside was Shadow the Hedgehog.
This is who I am.
Already in your pants to some degree.
And I just remember him saying, I'm very good at resealing things. Because it looked like it had not been tampered with at all.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, that's really good.
So that's my story of how I acquired Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, man. I do remember, because my birthday is in November. I think this came out 12 days before my birthday. And I know I had reserved it. And I think my mom was like, well, I'll go pick it up so it can still be a present or whatever. I don't think they made me wait. But this is the last game I do remember reading the manual to on the car ride home from the store, picking it up. The last definite core memory of, thumbing through the black and white photocopied manual before getting home to play the actual game.
God, I know we're old, but I really do miss that.
It added something special. It was nice.
It's interesting to see the shift where before you could get away with like, here's how you do this move that isn't explained in the game, like because everybody would have the manual, but then like with used games, and then now you don't have nothing. Maybe some nice box art to look at. They should properly teach you that stuff in the game, but the bygone age.
Now to get any kind of nice art or anything additional, even if it was just like a couple things at the end of some random game's manual, you have to buy the special edition or whatnot. And
I was about to say, now they still have it. Now it's just a pre-order bonus for the special edition. Ooh. Well, Shadow the Hedgehog.
The game!
Yes. Like we said, this was announced and released in 2005. I dug up an old, Nintendo World Report archived article about when it was announced in early 2005. And man, oh yeah, Luke's even got the original trailer up here.
This was shown right after the little video, I think it was inaugurating Sonic into the Video Game Hall of Fame or whatever.
Oh yeah. So I remember this because it's a bunch of footage from other Sonic games, and then Shadow shoots through it.
Oh my god, the original UI.
Oh, yeah.
Taking a quick glance, look at where Sonic has been, and where does he go now? We fucking kill him. Yeah.
God, I remember, even when this trailer first came out, this was hella controversial. Like, I remember this was the first time... I remember on the old forum where Jeremy and I first met. It was like they locked discussion for like a week. Just
really?
It was so intense.
I mean, it was a weird, because we were coming off of Heroes, which people were like, oh, Shadow's back. But I definitely remember even back then, people were like, well, why is Shadow here? They don't really get into it. Is he real? That's another game with a busted translation. So you're like, wait. Why did they're talking about cloning? What, huh? And then this game, Battle was already out, and that's like, hey, Shadow's here, and he's fine. He remembers most everything. He's really angsty, and he keeps passing out, and oh, look at him laying there. Anyway,
we just had Heroes though. And for the most part, Heroes is like a really fun, cheerful little game. Yeah, it's got the Team Dark stuff, and it gives us a little hint of edgy Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the new multi-platform game that everyone can play. It's the all ages game, and then they're like, no, it's the mid 2000s. Being shit and nasty is in.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong.
God, that trailer. Sorry, looking at it, it's just like his basic model holding a gun though, and there's no like CG footage that you usually expect. It's just a picture of him looking at the camera with a gun. It looks like a fan edit, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know what? To say it in a positive light, though, he was ahead of the trend of rendered in-engine gameplay footage before.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember some of the presentation and release, pre-release for this game. They sure did seem to talk about it like this was supposed to be the start of like more spin-off series. And I suppose it was, because that's what the storybook games were, although that also has a weird, like they weren't going to do that originally. They were going to try and port Sonic 06 to Wii, and figured out should have been more quickly that was impossible.
This was also the era where they were starting Riders.
Yeah. There were other spin-off games, but then this was... Shadow was presented like a main Sonic game. Like, I guess you could argue with me about that, but the fact that it seems like they had the A-team on this one, like you got Jun Senoi and Crush 40 handling the music, like you've got the cutscenes, it's a big story that is directly related to previous games. So I think that might be where some of the reputation from this game comes, is like, well, this is a spin-off starring Shadow, and he is not Sonic, so he can do things like say PG curse words and use guns, but
it's still like the very canon next chapter in the story.
Yeah. And, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, like, the very, I think, humorous that this was allegedly aiming for a T rating. So there was some more, again, incredibly mild swear words. You can still see in the opening cutscene, Shadow says, "What the hell?" and just omitted the hell. And there are some pre-release versions that, again, had a couple more hells and damns. And I wish I could find footage of it, but I'm pretty sure it exists, that Sonic used to say, "Oh, hey, I'd hate to piss off Gun," instead of tick off, which is just so funny when other characters that aren't Shadow cuss in this game. And
it does happen, like, in the final game, like, sometimes SBO says damn, and you know what, I think SBO would, because he's so hard-edged.
Yeah, so does Knuckles.
Sonic even gets in, damn, they got away, leave it to me, I'll catch up.
Yeah, and the black arms, the alien blood used to be pink instead of green, and which that seems like the silliest one, although, I mean, the green is kind of cool. There are some, hey, I think I've shouted out, like, fan artists who do, like, oh, Shadow's got green blood. That's usually cool. But yeah, there are differences in the final game. Everybody knows at one point they were going to have, like, show Maria falling after getting shot. That's only in a still image in the final game. But let me just say here, because it did just go around a couple of weeks ago as this recording, there was never a version of this game that was intended to be M-rated. Like, people took an offhanded comment by Jason Griffith that, like, oh, there's a version of the game where Shadow's, where's that motherfucking Chaos Emerald Sonic? And no, that does not exist. Like,
just Jason Griffith goofing around.
Yes.
I'd love to imagine that version. I imagine in the studio he was probably goofing around like, holy shit, motherfucker.
the audio engineer on the other end of that had to be wheezing at some points, just listening to Shadow say any of this.
Either that, or it's just like the most like flat delivery from the engineer. Like, okay, now give us one where you say "what the hell." All right, that was good. Give me a "what the fuck." Another one. Hit the f on fuck again. Okay, good. All right, let's move on.
Sorry, doctor, I'm gonna suck your dick.
That's a very very different ending to egg.
No!
Oh
my gosh.
I really am the ultimate.
Oh man, we're really in it now, Shadow. I do remember that this game was originally received a very, like, the textbook definition of a mixed reception. Like,
yeah,
there were plenty of reviews that were, like, critical of how it played, even compared to, like, Heroes, like how a lot of some of the gunplay and platforming felt a little forced in. Some of the levels are kind of half-baked, and just mostly the tone, where lots of people just didn't know what to make of this game. Like, it's... I guess maybe is now the time. Can y'all please give me a few minutes to talk about my big rant on this game, which...
The floor is yours.
Go for it.
I will say up front, when we replayed Sonic Heroes, which you can listen to that episode, I'm really proud of it. I think we were able to say, like, yes, this game is really fun and cheery, and I love the tone. A lot of the gameplay things really drag it down. And so I went into this game kind of with that same aspect, like, look, this lots of people have softened on this game, especially if they grew up with it. And I went in with a very open mind and ended up coming away pretty positive. And I have not replayed this game for a long time. I was really surprised. And I think I owe that to Now We Have, and she comes up on the show a lot. I am absolutely making sure to plug all her channels, but Wendy has a relatively recent retranslation of Shadow the Hedgehog, taking the Japanese script and showing, we've mentioned that before. That really contributed to me liking this game more, because the tone of the Japanese version to me sure matches up more with, like, Sonic Adventure 2 as far as being like, yes, this is a melodramatic cartoon with Sonic characters. However, it takes itself just seriously enough to where it doesn't feel like a joke. And I think the English script of Shadow the Hedgehog is very bad. And I say script because that's what I mean. The translation or whatever came first, I'm assuming it was the Japanese version because I think Izuka is credited as the director and like the game writer, whatever, in the credits. It's kind of weird, but I'm pretty sure he wrote most of this story. And the Japanese version feels like so much a direct follow-up to Sonic Adventure 2. There's lots of references and you know, like the Japanese cast is very consistent. So yeah, it's the same voices you know, and I really like that this time around. And I guess this is where I get to say, finally get this off my chest. I do not like this era of Sonic games in English. And again, let me say up front, I understand if you like the 4Kids cast with, you know, being led by Jason Griffith, that's fine. Everybody has a favorite Sonic. I'm just talking about me, and I'm not speaking for anybody else on this show. But yeah, I never could gel with this cast, and it's because it just feels too much like a 4Kids dub in that it's very loud and there's no subtlety to it. And not to pick on Jason Griffith, who's Sonic, I just can't vibe with because it's very forced and sing-songy, but I have a clip. Like, if y'all would please indulge me, this is a clip that will be in the episode.
You're about to bring up.
Yes, it is a comparison of the 4Kids One Piece dub and the more current modern Funimation Crunchyroll One Piece dub of the same scene. And if you would just listen and let me point out some things real quick, I think it's only about a minute long.
Usopp is not a coward!
Enough! Hear me out! There comes a time in life when everybody has to take the bull by the horns, or a groundhog by her shadow. It's my time, now! You'll be sorry! You mocked Luffy! Listen up! You've got it all wrong about Luffy! He has to be alive to fulfill his dream! He'll be king of the pirates! Watch him!
Usopp's not a coward, do you hear me?
There are times when a real man must stay and fight instead of running, no matter what. Like now, when a friend's true dream is laughed at by someone. Luffy is not dead. He's going to be king of the pirates someday. I know he will! That is one thing that I will never let you laugh at! Never!
I immediately hear the sing-songiness that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Different character, but it's that weird delivery.
And if you've heard Jason in other things using a voice closer to his natural voice, it's so much better. And that's all these 4Kids actors. I've heard all of them in other non-4Kids productions, and they're all fine, very talented, you know, exactly what you would want. But I think I picked this clip because, again, not picking on Jason, just I'm more analyzing the dub itself, because this is all of 4Kids. That read on so many of those Usopp lines feels like a first take. Like they just said, go for it. No, we're not going to fix it. The emphasis on so many words is quote unquote wrong. Like, you know, he says, you mocked Luffy, when he really should be putting the emphasis on something else, like, you mocked Luffy. And you know what I'm saying? And like, not only is the Funimation dub with Sonny Strait as Usopp, like, better on a technical level, also because it's not chopped up. Like, I edited it down just Usopp's dialogue, and it's still much longer than the 4Kids one, because all of those 4Kids shows were chopped down to like 22 to 18 minutes to fit commercials and replaced all the music. And so there's room to breathe. And so I think a lot of that carried into the Shadow the Hedgehog dub. obviously handled differently than an anime dub. Like they are, recording with less limitations, but the voice direction is what I always get on, because I just don't think there was much attention paid to the quality. Like it's not hearsay. I'm pretty sure it is a fact that they would not even pull up a clip of the Sonic X dub for Carter Cathcart, who plays Vector in this game. Would not pull up a clip of the Sonic X dub, which he had already recorded like a year ago, so he could remember how the character sounded, and that's why Vector sounds like this in this game.
I know that's true,
why
'cause I heard
Vector
it
sounds like
myself.
this forever.
Wow.
Yeah,
That voice has formed the basis of what Vector should sound like from now on, and it's the dopiest thing. But that's Vector now.
Yep, they just told him
voice.
make up a new voice on the spot for this crocodile character. And that's not even to get into like the straight up errors in the English script. There are so many lines that don't make sense. It was actually encouraging, and like I should have known it was Ian Flynn, but the line of dialogue from Black Doom in the Shadow Generations trailer where he says the promised time is arriving again, that is a reference to a line that should be in the opening cutscene, but isn't because the English dubs goofed it up. The first line Shadow says in Westopolis, the promise time, huh? Like he's referencing a line that they didn't properly, make sure was there. Yeah, man. And learning that the original final line of the game was supposed to be audio/sayonara Shadow the Hedgehog, and the English dub completely fucks it up with goodbye forever. And man, it just makes me so mad. So all that to say, like I said, if this is your favorite cast, that's fine. There are performances in this game that are much better than the Sonic X dub. I will give them that. But this is where it started to get real bad, and this is where I got Japanese Sonic pilled for a while.
You say you don't speak for all of us, but you do kind of speak for me as well. I'm in the same boat when it comes to the 4Kids cast. And listen, I actually like some of the stuff that 4Kids did. Like I'm an ultimate muscle trooper to the end of my days.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles 03 till I die.
But it's something about Sonic that I've never really gelled with the way they've done it. And listen, we know that this cast can do well. I mean, Mike Pollock does well, in spite of everything that's going on here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although he's much better when the cast changes, let's be fair. But there is something about this. Like, while the performances, as you mentioned, are better than what was happening in Sonic X, because I guess they're a little softer now, just a little bit, but it's still pushed too far. Like, Knuckles wasn't immediately grating. Like, the thing that always bugged me about, and listen, I love Dan Green. We all love Dan Green.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone who watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Loved Dan Green.
Oh,
But the voice he was forced to do for Knuckles in the show was constantly grasping his voice and getting angry. But when he shows up in Shadow, he sounds like, oh, that's a Knuckles voice. It's fine.
Although he does have several moments where as soon as the volume goes up, he does the screamy voice. I love that the last thing he gets to say is the Eggman, you creep! And he's doing the screamy Knuckles voice. And there are a couple that really stand out. I will actually say up front, like, Espio has a much better voice than in Heroes. I remember coming away from replaying Heroes going, wow, why does Espio sound constipated all the time? He sounds much better in this. He only has like maybe 6 lines, including his in level dialogue.
I was gonna say he sounds better, like direction wise. His audio mixing is atrocious.
Oh no, it's real bad. I was about to say, like, another one who, again, not my favorite in Sonic X, sounds okay in this. And really makes me wonder, like, what happened in future games. Rouge sounds pretty okay in this game. However, you can barely fucking hear her because like you said, the hey, speaking of a sequel to Sonic Adventure 2, audio mixing in this game is not good. I think two of Shadow's best lines in English, at least, are the Chaos Blast and Chaos Control, and they are mixed so low you can barely hear them.
Like he gets chaos out really good, and then the screen moves and the effects happen, and it is just gone.
It's like somebody.
Chaos.
And to be fair to the dubcast, the mixing is not much better in Japanese. Even Koji Yusa is drowned out when he gives us a good Chaos Blast control.
Rouge is. But you did mention that Rouge is different here, and I do like Rouge's voice a bit better here because it is a bit softer and it suits the character more. Mm-hmm. And she's not constantly being drowned out by saxophones in this.
Yeah.
She definitely sounds closer to like Lonnie Manella's take, which is more like smooth, lower, but not that like, husky overplayed rasp that Rouge gets in the Sonic X dub and Sonic 06. Like that's a weird one where it's like, why is this performance completely different? But
I really like the actress, by the way. I think she's got a great sultry voice and it works for various other roles. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I will admit, like the first time I heard it come out of Rouge, I was like, oh, why does she sound different? Why is she older now? Like she's considerably older, and that's not necessarily a bad thing for a voice. Just weird for Rouge initially.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is, I wouldn't even say it's a bad voice in a vacuum, but this is the Shadow voice that has been memed on and everyone can do because it is just like a halfway Solid Snake voice. And again, speaking just from my heart of hearts, I really miss the fake little accent David Humphrey gives him in those games that I think is a good, like, I don't even know, transliteration, except for audio, of Koji Yusa's performance, which is a very like I said, there is pathos to it. Like, I just had to get that off my chest. Again, I know people are immediately going to think this is me saying that I think they're stupid and wrong and I hate these actors, and I don't. It's just my personal preference. I do not take my shit onto public forums to talk about, well, except this show. But I'm not creating clips and posting them like, oh, this is why fucking Jason Griffith sucks, and at least not anymore that I am a grown-ass adult. But I just had to get that off my chest because that was such a pivotal role in having me enjoy this game more, was to be able to go to a properly translated Japanese version and be able to appreciate those performances in that script. And again, that's all thanks to Wendy. Her YouTube, her new YouTube with this is, let me see, I'll shout it out. It should be Wendy Gitlord, which is spelled with 4 I's, excuse me. But we'll link to this on the in the show notes, in everything. But yes, so
Jeremy, you needed to say all this. You needed to, because when it started, like really in the games, this is when it like kicked off, and this is where like people got their different their ideas of what Sonic should sound like started right here in this one title, and it's changed the way we have to look at these characters now, because this formed lots of people's opinions, like Shadow sounding like that, like in a way like Kirk Thornton sounding the way he does now, in that kind of way that people criticize a lot now, and I think understandably is because like they were told, no, he needs to sound like he's got gravel in his voice all the time now, and it's like, it's fine, but hey, you know what? Vector sounding like that at least led to one great thing, and that is the Sonic shorts that Boozerman made. So look, we've got to give credit to where credit is due. If they didn't fuck that up so badly, we wouldn't have had use the circle button to slide, And
I will, the actual last thing I'll say in this subject again is that I don't blame the actors, any of them, like the original cast, this cast, for, the things you don't like. Because every Sonic cast, including the Japanese, has parts where you're like, this is really irritating, or, because literally none of them are perfect. I will say that controversial statement. I lay it all at the feet of Sega for not caring about how good the translations are, about treating their actors well, because now we have confirmed that, like, Ryan Drummond, the original cast, didn't know they weren't going to be on this game. They just replaced them all without talking to them. Same with Sonic X. There's the story of Ryan calling up saying, like, hey, can I re-audition for this at least? And having his contacts at Sega allegedly telling him, oh, we have no control over that casting. That's all on 4Kids. And, even after offering to relocate to New York to record that, no. And so they just went on thinking, well, that's just this one TV show, though. And turns out, nope, they got shit-canned. And allegedly, I say allegedly, this was mostly Yuji Naka, who we also know from previous voice directors of the English version, just had some really weird things he wanted the English cast to do, like copy all of the Japanese, like, effort sounds and onomatopoeias, which is why you have, Eggman in Sonic Adventure 2 saying Yosh a lot, and Knuckles in Sonic Heroes going Sha, and
also wanting actors that kind of looked like their characters.
Oh, man. And again, allegedly, it was Yuji Naka who said, we want the Sonic X cast and the game cast to be the same. Which, again, getting into a little bit of politics here. Also, at the time, the Sonic games were using union talent, and 4Kids wasn't. They're freelance, New York based, and so switching the games to being non-union also probably saved Sega some money. And from what I understand, the games are finally union again.
As a Frontiers, yeah.
Yeah, you can basically, all that stuff I said about Sega chicaning the actors, well, they did the same thing to the 4Kids cast. Like, love them or hate them, Sega did the same thing. They just replaced them out of the blue, didn't announce anything, whatever. And, I really hope, it sounds like Sega might be a little bit better about this because, like I said, I think the Sonic games were an outlier. I know all the Yakuza games now have like a huge internal like localization team and use union talent. And so I'm hoping, with Frontiers, like we do see just better synergy and more, I don't know, just don't treat your actors like fucking shit at Sega. Yeah. Like that is what makes me the maddest. Like I cannot like Jason Griffith's Sonic, and that is a personal choice, but no, I hate how Sega treated their actors, and I think it's unacceptable. So I've taken way more than a minute. I'm glad, like Faulerro said, I say this now, so I never have to say it again.
One thing I do want to talk about a little bit that I don't think we actually put on the outline. This soundtrack is the most Jun Senoue-ass soundtrack I've heard in a while. Like, this really does feel like a continuation of what was started with Adventure 2 in a lot of ways.
This is a Jun Senoue soundtrack that isn't what you'd associate with a Jun Senoue soundtrack in 2024. Because, sorry, Jun Senoue, we do love you. But this is the good stuff, though.
Yep, it's really good. Like, not only a lot of solid remixes by like Jun and his team and some guest artists of straight up Sonic Adventure 2 music, but I just love like the crunchy guitars and the industrial feel and a really good use of samples. I know maybe we'll have to track some down. I know a while back we were like, oh man, this sample is in this Shadow the Hedgehog song, and I really like it. But yeah, the soundtrack for me is a real high point, and I love that. God, I love some of the choices. Like the song for Gun Fortress is so like low key and relaxing for a final level of this action game, and it's really good. No complaints here.
It does feel like it's coming down a little bit, like Shadow, because Shadow's done a load of shit to this point now. It's like, I don't know. It's like now he's bringing it to a close, and it's almost somber in a weird way.
Coming to terms with his own choices or whatever.
We should probably talk about the ending credits themes because those are also.
Let's cut straight to the end, but yeah, like it's an important part of the soundtrack because we're starting off with there is the opening theme. Like we can get to that first because that's a song.
Talk about a tone setter. I don't care what
the opening, man.
Anybody says. Like, I would boot up this game and, playing for this and like, let me just skip to everything. And no, I'm going to let that intro play because the unironic love for how this sets the tone. And like, yeah, man, he's got a gun and the chopper bike that is not in the game. And
big, stupid song with stupid lyrics, and I love it.
I love it.
I don't know if that exact bike is in the game, but there is a bike in one of the highway levels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It just does not look as nearly as cool as that intro one. And, well, I mean, there's a learning curve to the vehicles. They can be useful sometimes.
Yeah.
I will say I love that I Am All of Me has continued to just hold such cash with the rest of the Sonic fandom.
Yes.
I know I said it before. Going to the Sonic Symphony and seeing people get up out of their seats, all sing along at full blast with I Am All of Me was just mwah.
I'll never
awesome.
forget watching the original Symphony stream and being like, oh, wow, yeah, we got to the Crush 41. Man, this is so cool. I'm so glad this is a positive Sonic thing, all these people. And then the riff from I Am All of Me starts like, oh, fuck you, Sonic, Shadow Time, yeah!
I was listening to that stream at work. Like, I'm running around just doing stuff at work listening to the Sonic Symphony because, again, at this point I had gotten back into it. And I'm like, okay, here's some songs from a lot of games I haven't heard. They hit Night of the Wind at one point, and I said, woo, I'm happy. And then they hit the riff from I Am All of Me, and I kind of stopped, and I started thinking, and I'm like, really?
Yep.
Just look at those lyrics, man. I see nor hear no evil, black writings on the wall, unleashed a million faces, and one by one they fall. Well, I suppose he had 326 faces, depending on how many of them.
I mean, could be referring to like the black arms. I mean, mostly it's like they just it doesn't matter. They cut the intro to this, and it that was how it lined up.
It's Crush 40 lyrics. It's just what sounds cool.
Yeah.
To be fair,
that's all you need.
it sounds cool, all right.
And to speak to the lasting legacy of that song, like in just the past year, I've found some really good like new versions of the song that fans have made. Like somebody took the original recording and like re-recorded some new guitars over it and made it a new metal version, like a modern new metal. And then I heard like a disco version of it, and I was like, "Why does this work?"
Oh, that one's good. That one's good.
Oh, is that kind of one that Kiryu could dance along to? Because I don't know.
Yes, I even like the one that it's pretty recent that mashes it up with that silly Idol song where the gunshots are on.
Yes, yeah, Mio Honda and Shadow the Hedgehog are incredible together.
Can you see all of me? Walk into my disbelief. Step inside the world, do you remember?
Mio Honda promoting horrible propaganda on the internet. But hey, Shadow's in now.
No, we
She
don't
did
like
nothing wrong. It's
We
not
don't
her
like
fault.
it when she's used for propaganda. The song is good without it.
And then the rest is just June being like, hey, I like all these bands. Let's get them to do credits.
I mean, yeah.
Even it's so okay. Yes, the what is it? The A2, the songs credited to A2 in this game are from a band that June liked called Sins of a Divine Mother. That when he called them to potentially get them to write or use a song, they were like, "Oh, well, we just broke up, so."
Oh.
Yeah, there was originally supposed to be I think I have it here because part of Reloaded is they restore some of the temp songs. They were going to use the song Broken by Sins of a Divine Mother, which I think, God, is that the wrong one that I think finally got an official release? Because the only recording that existed was from their defunct MySpace. It's a very cool song.
What?
I think it got an official release last year. I'll have to put that in the notes if true. And before they what is it? Magnify, which does All Hail Shadow, is that right?
Yes.
They had a song called What I Am, which is very appropriate for this game, that was also looking to be used. Might have been in one of the pre-release versions, but got replaced with All Hail Shadow, which, man, also has a legacy of its own, huh?
Yeah,
It's
for real.
got reused, remade actually for other things.
With,
Now I guess
Crush
that's
40.
Shadow's. I guess it's now Shadow's theme.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like how it follows into that genre of this is an actual song about a Sonic the Hedgehog character. Like,
It is funny. It's like the one in the soundtrack that's actually kind of sounds in a major key and sounds nice for the good ending. And you're just like, well, that's a bit much actually. But I like the song, but it's almost like All Hail Shadow. Woohoo!
I know. That's why I tend to prefer the Crush 40 version because it's a little harder. I like the what is it? I think it was a bonus track on it might have been the Sonic Generations release, where there is a combination of the two. I think it's some of June's new guitars with the intro from the Crush 40 version with Magnify's vocals, and it sounds really good. But yeah, it is a very peppy version for a song that is about Shadow taking over the world in some of the endings.
So we were talking about A2 earlier. Are they the ones who have that one song that starts with "No More Gods"?
That's Power Man 5000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's the super bad ending.
Yeah,
Almost dead.
Yep, that one's hardcore, huh?
I mean, it's Power Man 5000. Come on.
So Jeremy, you could probably relate to me a little bit on this, but when I first heard that, as a teenager, still super into Christian culture like that, I was just like, I can't listen to this.
It's the same when you are playing Donkey Kong 64 and they say hell and you have horrible goosebumps as a child and hope your parents weren't walking by. Yeah.
Gosh, I remember. Okay, real quick sidetrack. I remember playing Star Fox 64, and every time Wolf said, "What the heck?" my parents would be like, "I don't know."
Flying a bit too close to the sun with that one.
Don't know if I can trust these video games.
No, I used to. I like that Power Man 5000 song because it's so over the top.
Yeah.
And I knew from what I understand, if you were a wrestling fan, knew Power Man. I remember I also knew some of their other songs from friends of mine, and I kind of thought it was cool because I'm like, oh wow, that's a quote unquote a real band, which is just I recognize them from outside of video games.
I heard Bombshell in a lot of things, not just wrestling, but it's just get up.
Yeah, exactly.
Bombshell.
That's the one.
So many Gundam AMVs. So many Gundam AMVs.
Let's see. I don't have the list up. There's Julian K.
Who, of course, did the Team Dark theme for Heroes. So it makes sense that they came back.
That's a Chosen One, right?
Oh yes,
Julian K was Waking Up.
Okay, Waking. Oh, of course. Yes.
Yeah,
sorry.
Chosen One was A2.
Yeah.
Waking Up's the Android one, and it sounds like a robot one, so it's real good.
I really like that one.
That's Julian K's wheelhouse.
It definitely feels like a follow-up to the Team Dark theme. And I like Chosen One too, because it's a pretty a very of its time rock ballad. I very much in the not the vocals, but it kind of reminds me of a good Creed song.
Except for without those very specific vocals. Oh god,
yes.
I'm just imagining the Creed version of Shadow's mopey song from the Everything's Real
the
Sad.
Scott Stapp voice that everyone ripped off, which is really ripping off the guy from Pearl Jam.
Oh, man.
I am Hall of Meh.
God, if you are a wrestling fan, you always heard, because WWE was in love with Creed for a while.
Oh, I
So
bet
had all
they
those,
were.
When you are with me, I'm free. It's like, oh man.
Oh, but yeah, music in this game is great. Like,
Yes.
just about bar none. Like, even the little jingles and the orchestrated cutscene bits are just really solid. I
It was
like
just
a
really
lot.
good timing for me because I was like an older teen, watching Kerrang on telly. That was like our hard metal channel. It wasn't. It was just like everything that everyone was listening to at the time. I was like, oh yeah, I know these bands now, and they're cool. And now Spider-Man's got a metal song, kind of. Hero save. And they played that all the flipping time.
Half a Nickelback song.
watching us roll away. That's what we were missing from this. We need some Nickelback and Saliva.
Oh boy.
Oh man, we're getting lost in the weeds. We forgot about Shadow.
Oh, you're talking about how good the music is.
Yes.
I mean, we've kind of touched on it that I feel like, now I can't remember if we were recording. I came into this game, after we revisited Heroes, kind of with that same mindset of, okay, I remember I had fun with Heroes, revisiting it. A lot of the flaws really stuck out, like with the level design and some of the controls. And I was surprised playing Shadow, how much of the problems I had with Heroes have been fixed for this game for the most part.
Yeah.
It definitely does feel tighter than Heroes did, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That light speed dash works just about every time. I'm shocked by it, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're the expert on this one, so
I
go
can
for
tell
it.
that you've got a story.
All I was going to say is that yes, technically it does compared to like almost every other wonky Sonic game that I've played, but there were definitely some times that homing dash didn't function worth anything.
Yeah.
And to Light Dash's credit in this game, I saved myself several times because of how generous like the activation window is on it.
Yes.
But it didn't like autocorrect to be like, oh, there's a line of rings going this way. It would just get the one ring that is directly in front of Shadow and send me off in a direction, and I'm like,
Yep, you're here to bring us down to earth as the outlier of experiencing so much of this game to encounter every possible problem.
As we've been going through, I have been remembering a couple of just moments that I had where, like, sure, I had fun going through the game as much as people may think I'm insane for that, but there are the moments that stick out in my mind are like the little gameplay things like that. Where, yes, because it functions well enough most of the time, the one time that like homing dash didn't work in, I think it was Digital Circuit, when you have to hit the beetle to get the spotlight and it just sends me off into the abyss, and I'm like, really? Just little things like that are what stick out because it does function.
That was another thing replaying that where I was like, wow, I'm glad this works, every time I've done it. And maybe I should have done it 100 more times to see.
Really
But that is, I'm going to keep going back to the reloaded mod. That is one of the things that is adjusted is the homing attack reliability and dash. And I think you can even, I think they even added I think if you hold the L trigger or something, you can even cancel instead of homing attack, you will jump dash. And man, just lots of stuff like that. I cannot recommend the reloaded mod enough if you're going to play this game.
That would have been so nice.
There are a couple of things that need tweaking. It added, it changed all the keys to red rings instead, which is just kind of a nice touch, but I think some of those are bugged. But if you just want a casual playthrough of the game, definitely Reloaded is the way to go.
Making me remember the keys.
It's interesting. I have seen lots of people, including like mutuals of mine, like bring up the fact you do have to learn this game different than like Sonic Heroes or even the adventure games, because it is designed to be played different because of the level and mission structure and the weapons.
It's kind of like a Chaotix, but like it's the Team Chaotix missions made into a whole game, but also with the option to play it normally if you want to be neutral, I guess.
Yeah, which is why I will say, I agree. I think you do have to learn this game. You have to learn that you can use the R button to strafe and to like stop on a dime and...
Excuse me, what?
And oh no, see? They don't...
Oh no.
They barely teach you this in the game, which is why although I agree with those people who say like, oh, you need to get good and learn the game. Even if you do that, some of these missions just aren't fun.
No.
But it's definitely not the majority of them. I think the majority of them are pretty fine. Like as much as sometimes it is hard to hunt down that last enemy on most levels, it's kind of okay. You can just hop back on the checkpoints and find ones you missed. Or
Yes, thank goodness for the checkpoints.
I didn't hit that middle checkpoint. That must have been a branching path, but oh boy, some of specifically the flashback levels on the Ark, I think are...
I spent like an hour trying to find all those bloody chaos creatures. Jeez.
Oh, yeah, pretty notorious.
The Ark sure was designed.
One of the levels of all time.
Isn't it wild that you're like, oh wow, a level where we get to go back to the Ark, like in Sonic Adventure 2, and Maria's there. This is going to be so cool and
Maria, your missions, please.
Also, quit looking at me with them big old eyes.
What is it? It's the Doom Maria jump scare frame 1 because you're like spawned next to her and you're like, oh.
Oh, it's so funny. There is a mod that someone made that I think you can like play on real GameCube hardware. All it does is fix Maria's eyes. Good for you, modder person.
I couldn't fix her nids though. Now she's still gonna die.
Oh, although they sure don't mention that in this game. I don't think.
They don't.
Yeah, I don't remember them mentioning that at all.
It's
They're just
pretty
focused
weird.
on the murder. It's
Yes.
not the inevitable death.
Maybe they thought, okay, I'm giving them the highest benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't want to mention it so there wouldn't be dissonance where she's like double jumping around with you as a partner character.
Or teleporting or anything.
I'm just sure it's how Shadow remembers it. He remembers her back when she was still spry and full of energy and not dying.
It was actually a side effect of the NIDS, being able to double jump and teleport.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be fair, she is a woman, and we know that women are allowed double jumps in Sonic, and
Yes,
good for them.
Yes.
And I mean, we're kind of going to be jumping around with the levels and talk
Double
about
jumping?
because
Double jumping around with it.
yes,
Same
I
brain.
mean, we can't talk about every mission in the game.
And we should not.
I can give you a vibes rating on every mission in the game.
You know what? Let's do it. Yeah, Midnight. Give us vibes right now.
Quick vibe of each level.
Westopolis.
Okay, Westopolis, actually not that bad. Like, yes, you play it a lot, but it's fine. It's completely fine. You get to do everything you want fairly simple, like easily.
Everything's blowing up immediately, and you're just like, oh god, okay, no. But then you get used to it.
Unless you are a young child and you do not realize that there is that boost pad behind the goal ring to where you get the last like 2 dudes for each side. Then it's a problem.
And it's when you're first introduced to, oh, look out, those black creatures.
And I swear I made the joke like every time because I'm a child at heart. I said, Sonic, you can't say that.
Yeah, that is
Or, like,
okay. Not to go
Tails.
back. That is the most egregious thing the English dub does is say the phrase "those black creatures" dozens of times. Like there was nobody going over that script saying, "Hey, that sounds a little weird." And I know there is an equivalent in the Japanese version. I just think at that point they should have just said the aliens, and at some point in the script you just call them the Black Arms, because even in last story someone is saying those black creatures just teleported their black comet down to the the surface. Like, please stop it.
Like, I know the word black does not have that sort of like heavy, the heavy vibes to it that it does, because usually they use that a lot, especially with character names. But the worst part about it is they're not even black.
No, they're
Like gray and purple and stuff.
they're a silvery gray. I mean, I guess Black Doom is he's got his man, he's got a good fit. I will say that. I like his accessories and his robe, but all the other little guys, like it's Shadow and Black Doom, they are the man, there's no way to finish that
The
sentence.
blackest creatures.
That just that's such a bad, that's just bad writing is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Doom and his Dr. Claw voice, only in the English version.
Yeah, which I would kind of fight. I like, speaking
funny.
of, let's see, Black Eggman, Goku Black, Sean Schimmel, Black Doom. I give Black Doom's English voice a lot of leeway because it's not that bad. His Japanese voice is not as growly, but man, as far as performances go, it's fine because it's
For
that
this
kind
game,
of voice.
it's fine. It's a stupid game. I guess just like the smoother voice that he has in the Japanese one makes it sound like the kind of person you maybe be like, okay, I'm going to listen to this guy. He's a bit creepy.
Yeah,
But he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. But the rest of the time, in the English version, it's just like, Shadow, you need to do this thing. Ooh, you must destroy all these cubes. You sound like a really respectable person. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I mean the voice filters also like do a lot of nice heavy lifting. I'm glad that they are going to be in Sonic Shadow Generations as well. That same exact voice filter. I love it. Okay, to get the negatives out of the way, I think my least favorite level on the whole is Central City because both of those missions, oh man, I hate them. Knuckles is no help. I don't like him. It's the one where you have to find all of the you either find the mini bombs and suck them up with the vacuum, or you detonate the 5 big bombs and there's green goo everywhere that's poisonous apparently,
But cars can drive on it?
yeah, the cars can drive. Yes. That is, you are actually introduced to the vehicles properly better as far as like, hey, you this is how you use them, and not my favorite. And it is differentiated, but it does just look like Westopolis. There are a couple levels that it's like, oh, this is that previous level, but with a different JPEG in the background. Yeah. I will say this game
that's basically
overall
what they
does
did in
not.
Sonic Adventure 2 as well.
Yeah, I will say this game does not look that bad. Like it has a nice design. What do you call it? Design philosophy to it. Yes, it's dark and gritty Sonic Heroes, but there are still plenty of bright colors and interesting visuals and whatnot.
I think one of the levels that I enjoyed the most was I forget the name of it, but the one that Black Doom is calling like his temple, where you're like in all those different like rock islands in the sky.
Oh, like Sky Troops?
Either Sky Troops or
Glyphic
Glyphic Canyon.
Yeah, and I really, before we started recording today, I was able to get just a really quick, like, full neutral run of Shadow in, because, hey, what do you know, that appeals to the I want to go fast crowd, because you really can't just zip through those levels.
Playing it like a Sonic game.
Yeah. But
Get the Chaos Emerald.
but I like the, speaking of vehicles, I like the little, like, mech walker that's in those levels, where you get the high jump.
The little bouncy dude. Yeah.
Yeah, the little bouncy dude. And like this is just the thing. I really like high jumps in games because I think it stems from my love of like being able to high jump in like Incredible Hulk and Ultimate Spider-Man, it's Venom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I like the mech walker like that. I'm not a fan of how it basically doesn't move forward at all when you're hovering, but I love the jumping.
That's another thing that's fixed and reloaded.
Oh, okay.
The hover's actually usable?
Yes. I remember using it a lot. And like you said, the jumps, that is exactly, it feels like a big Hulk jump. Like you're jumping high into the air and the adjust so you can see where you're falling. And, I do gotta say, okay, I think the camera, the camera is dated. It has problems that a lot of other games have. So many of them would have been fixed for me if it allowed me to pull the camera out farther permanently.
Oh, man.
You can
That
kind
camera.
of pull it out more if you push down on the C stick. If it would stay like that and you could see, Shadow more of his surroundings, would have fixed so many more problems for me. I hope that is in a future like reloaded patch.
One level that always stuck with me is Circus Park, just because it is so different from literally everything else in that game.
Yeah. You get I like the intro before, well, I mean, everybody knows where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald. And then you get like, oh, it's Tails. Oh, it's his theme from Sonic Adventure 2. Oh no, he's crashing again. better catch that fox boy.
The poor guy.
I agree though. Circus Park and Cryptic Castle as literally these are follow-ups to Sonic Heroes levels, both involving Eggman being a goofy son of a gun. I really like those. Maybe not the find the cream and the lanterns in Cryptic Castle, because it's that can drag on a lot, but yeah, Circus Park is really fun. Actually, it's such a fun contrast that here's all these gun mechs with automatic rifles, and this is a goofy casino Sonic level.
And Eggman's like telling you, like, I remember him being like, "Don't destroy all my dudes! Don't destroy my robots!
Don't smash up my robots!
You'll ruin his fun little act!" And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." Of course he cares about that sort of thing.
And I mean, it's Eggman. He has a propensity for building theme parks.
Yep. I think he even says, like, how are you enjoying the world's greatest theme park, Shadow? Oh, it's so funny. I love any level to where siding with Eggman, there are a couple you side with Eggman. I guess he's the good guy and the Black Arms are the bad path, but any where you're siding with Eggman against the gun, and Eggman's like, God, will you clear those cops out of my base? Gee.
Yeah. Iron Jungle immediately comes to mind.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Man, I think my favorite finale level might be Lava Shelter, because it's one where the grinding is different from even Heroes and Sonic Adventure 2, but Lava Shelter just feels really cool.
It does.
Alongside Omega. Omega's also a fun partner character because he's just Omegaing it up, talking about destroying Eggman and how every other robot sucks except him.
Haven't ruined his voice yet. So it's fine.
Yeah, that is a weird one, because it's I can't remember. I don't have a list of actors in front of me. It's a different person that plays him in Sonic 06, but because they got the voice filter right in this game, it is pretty hard to find a difference between this and Sonic Heroes. Like, even the cadence is the proper acting cadence for Omega. And I remember, like, when I was playing this, like, well, they got Omega right.
Which they don't do anymore, that's for sure.
No. What? Come on.
That's right. It's Omega was apparently Jeff Kramer, voice of Francis York Morgan from Deadly Premonition.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. It's not even, I think he was also like he did a couple of other like weird one-off voices for Sega too. Like,
yeah, he was the voice of Seaman.
Yeah, what the fuck, Sega? What is going on? Anyway, we can't ask that question every episode.
Oh, I think you can. You
Can't
just gonna
we?
get the same answer.
Just for our own catharsis.
I do, okay, as much as I think it is very funny, I do wish that they wouldn't have cowered it out and let Shadow the Hedgehog actually kill the president of the United Federation.
Yeah.
I remember
no matter
playing
what
that stage because of the way these things are laid out. It doesn't really matter what you do in a stage more often than not. Because if you're going along a different path, it will just take you to what that's going to be. And either way, the president lives, and it's just like, well, I just blew up his thing. How is that possible?
Yeah.
No, you've got to keep the president alive.
Yeah.
Somebody on that team really liked Independence Day.
Oh, that shot is almost a 1-to-1.
Yeah.
It is funny. I have not compared the scenes. I think it's something similar. That same scene, the president is like, oh, and what about, Central City? He's like, don't worry, sir. The evacuation order went out yesterday. It was all clear. Like, oh, okay. So nobody really died. Wink. We saw their parachutes. Wink.
Sorry, you're talking about that scene. We've talked. I know we talked about this off podcast before. Isn't it weird how subtle the delivery for the president is during that scene? It's almost really drawn back. Like he's like, oh, I must save my nation. He really sounds like someone who's been through the ringer. And then there's the commander being like, don't worry, sir. You killed my surrogate sister, Shadow. You should really take me seriously. I love Mark Thompson with that voice.
Yeah. Even that voice.
Can we also just quickly joke on the fact that the president just has a picture of Shadow and Sonic on his desk?
Oh, everyone's made that joke.
I know,
it's great.
It's just funny.
There's a local game store near me that also has that picture up on the counter.
Oh, that's so good. I have a printed out version somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's on my desk.
What I love about it is, when did he take that photo?
Yeah.
That's what we were wondering.
I mean, it would have to have been maybe after Heroes. Was the president, were they monitoring the situation in Sonic Heroes, from Central City? Did Sonic Heroes take place on the what have we called, the fairy islands where the Sonic characters live? And they were like, oh my goodness, Sonic and Shadow did it again. Get them up. We need a photo op with them. Invite them to the White House. And Sonic was like, yeah, sure. And drags Shadow along somehow.
Yeah, because it's not Sonic X where he has to go hang out with his friend in the wheelchair.
Yes, Helen. We put some respect on her name.
That's right.
Oh, and yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. It is so funny. Because like you said, the president is one of the more subtle performances. And yeah, they... when he's standing at the window talking about... I hate to have to rely on those two brave boys again. It's a picture of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, I miss them so much.
Nothing new, but it is funny, no matter what version you're playing. The fact that the equivalent of the president of the United States.
I'll never forget the White House barbecue of 2004, where both Sonic and Shadow finally came over.
That is always funny. The idea of the president, because everyone always quotes the, you mean the Chaos Emeralds? Chuckled Obama.
Yeah.
It's always funny.
Let me be clear. Chaos control.
Isn't it interesting that, and I think at first I was like, I didn't really realize that. Okay, they're probably not making a statement here, but the easiest way to play it, like I said before, is to play neutral, because you don't have to pick a side. You don't have to put the effort in. You're just being a centrist, and that's the easiest way to make it through life. So that's what you do. And I did that over and over again to get to get all the endings. To be fair.
And Eggman says you're a robot with no free will of your own, so you shouldn't bother making any other decisions.
No reason. Do you know why he did that? He just wanted to fuck with you.
Yeah. You have to spend 8 minutes in the final boss for him to say, hey, Shadow, all that android talk, that was, I don't know why I said that. I've been going through it. Just needed to take my aggression out on someone.
Being a little
You're the real deal.
Don't karate chop me.
This is I've got a weird pain in my neck. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah. You just caught me on a bad day. You were like, Doctor, I need your help. Oh, what, robot? Yeah, you fake ass robot that I made. Yeah, that's right. What?
I'm going to have to kill you now. Take it back.
JK.
Which is how I imagine those endings fit into the canon, which is
What if every ending is canon and he just keeps going back in time, like in Sonic 06?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
man.
a time loop. No, I think you have to ignore anytime Shadow murders a character, but when you ask, like, well, what's the canon playthrough? And it's all of them, because Shadow
It's
has
all of them.
to-
Shadow does keep murdering Eggman over and over. Eggman's getting sick of it. But he just keeps doing it anyway.
No, that's why he says he's an android initially, because he's like, you know what? You've killed me like 4 times. Screw you. You're not the real Shadow.
Yeah, it's Hedgehog Day starring Shadow Murray.
Eggman's just having fun with it. He's trying different things.
Screw it,
on
I'm
different
gaslighting
loops.
this bastard.
Trying to keep himself alive.
Oh man, I really special shout out to the what is it? The literally the find the computer room level, which is
Cosmic Fall.
is that Cosmic Fall, where in I think it's before the boss and after, where Eggman's like, you're an android, you're just a copy of the original Shadow, you're nothing, and Shadow was like, oh, then I shouldn't exist, and Vector's like, well, hold on, don't kill yourself yet.
Give it time.
let's see where this goes first, then make the decision. Don't do it right now.
We gotta find the computer room first. Which in the Japanese version, he just kind of trails off, like he's trying to tell Shadow, like, now hold on, man, you don't gotta listen to Eggman, and but that just stands out. Yet,
The voice is killing it too, because more often than not, it is that funny voice. They've got to find a computer room. Consider suicide.
but not until we're done.
Sorry, also Vector. I know it's funny that all these little characters show up, and it is it really takes you out of the scene sometimes when Charmy Bee fucking shows up.
Oh man.
But Vector the crocodile in particular, when you get to the end of a stage and Shadow's like having some really somber moment, being like, I will make my own decisions from my past. I will make amends for what I've done. And Vector's just there doing his funny little dance with his headphones on.
He's doing the stanky leg in the background. Oh man, I gotta say, Charmy the Bee's voice, now this is a reference only for me, sounds like a cross between Gerbert the Christian Orange puppet and Junior Asparagus from VeggieTales, and it is weird. It is,
Oh man, I hear it now.
I am not a fan of many of Charmy the Bee's voices, because he can get kind of annoying, but this one kind of creeps me out, where he's like,
Hey, Shadow, you want to help me find some computer disks? Shadow, you're so cool. They captured some of the black creatures. It's like a zoo.
oh, charming.
Charmy,
no.
you can't say that.
No. It is okay. Another reason why all the levels have to be canon is because the whole reason the Chaotix are breaking into computer systems and collecting disks on Prison Island is because they were putting together Gerald's final message for Shadow in the last story, which I don't think I ever realized. I mean, they're using the same computer that Rouge does at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, so that's kind of neat. I never caught that the secret disc, that was Gerald's other final message. Not the one where he goes crazy and kills everybody, but which is another thing the dub gets wrong at the end, where the president's like, well, I guess we judged Gerald too harshly.
No,
What a
you
good
didn't,
guy. No. In the Japanese version, he's like, he basically says, like, he was still fucking crazy, but, we must atone for our sins as well. I'm like, yeah, there's a real big difference between those statements, Mr. President.
Maybe we gave him a raw deal. And yeah, he tried to genocide all of us, but if you really think about it, he wasn't a bad guy.
One of us made the Eclipse cannon, the other one runs a country.
Yeah.
How different are we, really?
There's just something funny about the way this game is structured, though, because, like, obviously missions lead into each other, but because of the way it's, like, laid out, there's rarely ever continuity between these unless you're going, like, straight on a neutral one. And sometimes Shadow will just jump from one thing to another, and jump from one morality to another, just because at the last minute he decided to help a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to destroy all these humans now, even though I was helping Charmy B just a moment ago.
Like, yeah, you can do, like, the hero mission, or even a neutral mission, and you'll be like, okay, this will be fine. And then in the next stage, the opening, like, intro cutscene, it's just, he's, like, being him for some reason. He's like, I'm evil
if you're
now.
going, like, if you're being you're doing the pure good route, and that's where he says the bloody, taking candy from a baby line, I'm pretty sure.
Fine by me.
Which is a great example of just poor adaptation choice, because
There's nothing like that in the original.
no, I mean, he says the same conveyance where he says, like, oh, Sonic's a fool for leaving this, this precious emerald out for me to grab. But yeah, does not say that, oh man, speaking of memes that ruin this game's reputation, which is fine by me.
Even Akuma didn't say that.
No.
I'm thinking of that one line from, was it SVC Chaos, I think?
Yep.
Defeating you takes less effort than smacking a baby. Not that I'd ever do that.
I mean, there's so much art of Akuma actually just being a chill dude with kids, being like, take this fruit. He's a good guy. He's just a little crazy.
Just does a little murder.
Just a little bit.
In battle.
Exactly.
Regardless of the audio version you're watching in that cutscene, the fact that he smashes the emerald container and it plays pot-smash.wave
Yes.
absolutely takes me out.
We have broken a ceramic, but that's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
Sorry, speaking of a similar scene, like, there's another scene on the other end, I think, where in this very same spaceship where Sonic takes him up into space to fight to chase off those black creatures. And there's that bit where Shadow suddenly remembers, oh man, Maria died, and he has this sad moment, and Sonic comes in like, with his goofy Jason Griffith voice, like, it's time to rock and roll.
It's like no time to let it breathe and nothing. Shadow's having an existential crisis, remembering a real thing that happened in his trauma. Sonic choosing to be that guy.
Which I do think some of that is intentional, because this is a game from Shadow's perspective.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there are a lot of interactions where Sonic shows up and, like, it goes unsaid, but, and Shadow's like, oh, this fucking guy again.
I mean, Sonic is such a cop in this game, let's be fair.
Oh, yeah. That, man, yeah. If you really want to get some of my actual criticisms of this game, it is treating Gun as a good entity, even when they are shooting you.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, they are protecting the Earth, I suppose, from a horrible extraterrestrial invasion, but that's just something that'll never sit right with me, is that this game and Sonic 06 really play up Shadow's connection to Gun as a good thing. And there's some people that'll argue, like Sonic 06, like, oh, he's working with Gun, not for Gun, and I think that's semantics. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, but also the Gun Commander joined Gun despite the fact that they were the actual ones who caused Maria's death.
Yep.
Right. Like, that's another, like, the Gun Commander on the whole, I can't remember if I said this earlier, I just don't really like his part in the story, that he shows up on the Ark and points his pistol at Shadow's head and then dumps his whole backstory of, I was a little kid on the Ark too, and I played with Maria, my best friend, and I saw everything with my stupid heterochromia anime OC eyes, and I knew you were always bad, but somehow I made it off the Ark before everyone else got shot and imprisoned, and then yes, I joined Gun and now run it, and
Never realized.
And I really like Olive Garden.
I think you need a character like that who can interact with the president, so like the humans have an actual place in this story, but
Yeah.
I just don't like I don't like that he was literally on the Ark and saw, like just poked his head through a window and saw Black Doom and Gerald making Shadow. What? Come on, man.
Just behind one locked door with a window in it, no other secret fancy thing, nothing. Mm-mm.
And what's funny is if you play after the game, there's that whole extra mission where you find like extra dialogue from the characters, and in the end he's just like, "Listen, Shadow, I'm sorry about that. I'm about to become a grandpa, and I was really going through it. So
I was hoping to invite you for dinner
At Olive Garden.
We're going to my favorite restaurant." I guess it's also because that backstory means nothing except to the gun commander. You're like, who is this? I mean, you don't even have to explain this guy. You're just like, oh, he's the guy in charge of gun.
Yeah.
Like, and he hates Shadow because, yeah, I guess if he didn't know, you would assume Shadow and the bio lizard, and then you learn like the prototype artificial chaos led to it, not knowing the real story of it was the Eclipse cannon, and then, you know, depending on your your subscription to Sonic Canon, it could be Gemroll and the Gizoid, but him literally being on the Ark as a child and Maria's friend adds nothing to the game.
No.
And
it kind of undoes the tragedy a little bit. I got the impression that everyone got murdered on the Ark.
Yeah. And Maria was alone except for her grandfather, who was, you know, not very stable and also working on his experiments. We've never heard about Maria's parents or any other family members.
All we know is that, you know, they just showed Eggman's family tree, and it's just undisclosed parent. Basically, Gerald only had 2 kids.
It's Gerald, Maria, Eggman, and sometimes Eggman Nega, depending on the continuity.
Yeah.
Maybe the gun commander is just a Lulu.
He just hallucinated being on the Ark.
I don't know. Again, I on the whole, I think the story of this game is rather coherent despite the structure. Like, yes, like you said, they couldn't really do anything super referential between the levels, but when you sit down and, like, you know, especially because the last story kind of does tie it all together, I don't think it's that bad. It's more of it's less thinking of it like a linear story and more of the whole thing is about Shadow realizing that it doesn't actually matter if he knows every detail about his past, because he is choosing to be his own person now, which
it's just mostly a choose your own adventure book way of doing that sort of story.
Yeah.
And that's fine in its own way. It just is very funny that Shadow does, like, change morality all the time. It reminds me of that one episode of the Donkey Kong Country cartoon where Toy DK gets amnesia and everyone keeps coming up to him saying, "No, wait, you're not Donkey Kong, you're Donkey Rule, you're a crocodile like me." He's like, "Well, I guess I was the whole time," and that's kind of what Shadow does in this game.
I mean, the funniest parts are his end quotes at levels where you'll go from the beginning, because you can start like a pure good run and then pull a huge turn and end up doing the evil ending. And so you go from Shadow going, "Disgusting black creatures, get out of my sight," to "These pathetic humans don't deserve to live on this planet."
I do quite like the last minute heel turn one, though, when you do a pure good ending and then you decide, actually, no, I fucking hate Sonic.
I think he does say in English, it's like, you know, "I'm only on the side that's against you." And I think the Japanese is something more like Sonic's like, "Shadow, what are you doing? Are you siding with the aliens?" And he goes, "No, the truth is, I can't stand you 1 minute longer, Sonic."
And the gun commander's like, "I'm also here." Shut up.
It's kind of lame that there is no actual fight against any Sonic characters in this game. Like, it seems to build it up, and then Sonic's just like, "I'm just gonna hang out over here in this stupid robot, and you can jump at me."
He's just the method to which you actually damage the boss. He's not actually a thing you have to worry about.
That's kind of a bummer.
I do, yeah. The pure good route, evil ending. Isn't that the one where Shadow says, "I'm now the most powerful hedgehog alive"?
I think it is.
It's
yes.
so good.
Every time he does say that, by the way, "This is who I am," which is a good quote.
Yes. I would say, as far as the English script goes, I think that is a cool decision to have him say, "This is who I am."
Because in the Japanese, he does say something like, "That is my answer," or something like that. Like the answer to the question, because I guess everyone's asking him one every time.
Yeah, the answer to, like, I think a couple of characters even say, like, "Who are you really?" And he says, "That is my answer of who I am." And the English just, not only do you get a cool catchphrase out of it that works with, it works with the whole theme of the game. Like, I am all of me. They were going to use a song called Who I Am. I really like the Who I Am. It's a good punch on the end of those.
What I will also add on to that, in the library, when you do like each individual unique run through the game, they're all named something different.
Yeah.
It is. There 326 differently named routes that you can go, and each of them it is fully unique. Yes, there are some that are like self-referential because they're right next to each other, but the idea of doing that and also playing into the whole "this is who I am" yada 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 is they didn't have to do that, but it was nice that they did.
No. I think I have one in my Twitter profile right now, because I think it was someone was starting a thread, and I follow him on Twitter, Hedgehog, said, like, everybody put your favorite Shadow ending, and I think I picked mine, which is purely coincidental, I swear to God, but it's ending 269, Faith Without Falsehood. Some of them go really hard, to borrow a parlance from the kids.
There's a couple of them that I love. Personally, I do like 001 and 326, but that's just because, those are the bookends.
Yes.
Being a missive from 500 years ago, Jesus, 50 years ago. Punishment,
yes.
Thy Name is Ruin. There's
some good ones in there.
Some don't have to make sense, like 024, 025, Sanctions Demise. There's even like Birth of a God.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Silent Hill 3, a machine made for war. There's just so destruction from perfection. Darkness's strongest soldier.
Yes.
I love it. Like you said, they did not have to bother to do that, but not only did they, but yeah, some really good. Just band name after band name.
Yeah.
The Throne of God, ending 250.
It's all really cool, and I'm glad they give you something for having your own unique route.
Yes.
I will say, I do think it is too much that they make you do 10 endings to unlock the thing, because the endings aren't even that much different. Like, some of them will have slight variations, like, because you basically got to get each version, and I'm not sure how you. There's like pure good, slightly not pure good, neutral, true neutral, not quite neutral. It's like this really advanced like morality scale on D&D or something. But it is a lot, and to get 10, I feel like I remember it being fewer than that, and I was like, well, it's going to take me a while to do this, and at least it's not 326 because we would be suffering as much as Midnight is. But the 10, I feel like the biggest issue I have with it is they don't really matter if you've seen all of them. It's not like it's not like a Zero Escape game where you're maintaining knowledge between playthroughs and Shadow learns something special that gets used later on. It's just for the sake of drawing out the game, I think.
Mentioning one of my favorite writers of all time, how could you? I love Uchikoshi, dude.
Could you imagine the visual novel version of a Shadow game where he actually maintains memories throughout these things?
It would be amazing.
Leads to a secret ending, but oh no, there's actually an epilogue as well, and you got to play through that to get to the ultra secret ending, which is silly, but never mind, it's fine.
Honestly, that idea I would love. Unironically, I would love that.
Oh no, same. After Virtue's Last Reward, I was like, oh, this is true gaming storytelling. Oh no, it's over.
And then ZTD happened, and we don't talk about ZTD.
Well, we don't talk about that. It's a silly game.
But Somnium Files is good. I'll show that one.
Oh, I love. Sorry, we're going to go on an Uchikoshi rant
That's
now.
the one I can jump in. I do love Somnium Files. I need to finish that first one.
Yeah, I love the scumbag pervert main character. It's great.
But
he's
it
the best.
works. Something about him.
It really does.
Most of the time, I'm like, dude, I don't care about like the fan service perverted character. Like, sure, whatever. But then there's something about Kaname. Fuck Date. And you're like, you are.
It's a good balance of like the jokes never overstep their line into like, and this pervert is correct.
I also think it's because nobody ever agrees with him. They always like bash him upside the head or something, and they no sell it.
Even his computer is shaming his libido.
I love Iba.
God, Iba. Sorry, we're going off topic.
I know.
Whole other discussion for another time.
But just
game recommendations.
The idea of an Uchikoshi style like thing they could have done with this being like retaining information between each loop would be interesting. Like legitimately.
I think this game came out right as it was starting the trend in gaming where they were like, and you control the outcome. A little bit, maybe.
Kinda.
Like, as long as you can make a choice, we're going to call that emergent gameplay that, would lead to, hey, good implementations of that in some of the early Telltale games or, like the big ones like Mass Effect and whatnot. But then, like you would start to see the wick burning down on that. Like, by the time you get to BioShock Infinite, you're like, okay, the point is your choices don't matter, or is the point that racism goes both ways? But I suppose, yes, if you really want to be technically correct, this game does let you choose your ending, even if it doesn't really matter when you play the last one.
Yeah, it just cuts to an ending that, I don't know, because it doesn't really line up with any of them. He does have the emeralds, but he's also on the Black Comet, and it's fine, I guess.
And yeah.
I think as far as the endings go, you can consider the ending bosses the very last ones. And I don't really think we have to figure out the canon, but if you cut the ending bosses and then just cut straight to the last story cutscene, then there you go. Shadow didn't kill anybody. He just ended up on the Black Comet somehow. And then they all work.
Things that hasn't mentioned quite yet, mentioning the final bosses. Very funny that, Diablon, sure, human-made machine, break it, however, whatnot. Eggman...
allegedly wasn't ready, and that's why it's such a piece of junk.
It doesn't have legs. Egg Dealer, human-made creation, break it with whatever, yada yada. Why is Black Doom weak to bullets? If he was invading the planet?
Most people are.
I mean, yes, but you've had 50 years to plan for this? Why does an AR-15 kill you?
Yeah.
Well, he's not usually on the field, to be fair, I suppose. He's usually sending his Doom's eye out there, because maybe if he gets shot, it hurts. So he's like, no, I'm not actually going to go down there.
True, but then he's also shown to be a very strong space alien wizard, so why would he just let the bullets hit him? I don't know.
We just don't have those.
I mean, it feels like a big moment in the last cutscene where he has all the emeralds and finally literally gives us a call of chaos control. But I mean, are we to assume that anytime the Black Arms like teleport in and out, they're using chaos control? But I don't know, because...
Well, I mean, the whole reason that they needed Shadow was to get the Chaos Emeralds because they couldn't have the comet breach the atmosphere
the atmosphere. But I guess that just makes his Black Doom as the final boss so neutered because, like, this guy is supposed to be really strong and the source of Shadow's chaos powers, even if we don't know that yet. And his boss is just kind of lame. I kind of would have preferred if they came up with a follow-up to the devil dog. Like send a giant kaiju black arms after Shadow as a final boss.
No, he's super powerful now.
Your guns don't work on me anymore, Shadow. Ha ha ha. Worthless bullets.
Except when I phase in to use my powers, and then you freeze me with your chaos control and shoot me in the face 100 times.
And then, ouch. I have died.
Owie! My green blood.
My everything. It was just very funny because if I remember correctly, in most of my runs, Black Doom dies the fastest.
Yeah.
just because he does just die to bullets. The other two bosses like really don't. I mean, Diablon is also fast. The longest one is Egg Dealer because you don't get guns in that fight until he's mostly dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I usually manage to, I mean, it's not cheesing, it's just getting the timing right, is you can usually hit it the first time and you'll either get rings or, missiles or bombs, and either way you damage him. Yeah. And then the second one is usually Shadow Fever. Mm-hmm. And if you time it right, you can get off like 4 Chaos Blasts, and then he's mostly dead.
Yes. I just love the fact that he programmed in Shadow Fever.
I know. He even says, no, not Shadow Fever.
Like, that is such an Eggman thing to do, though. Like, to give him a chance.
Like, I would love to come up with a reason why he did that. Like, maybe originally he was trying to program into, like, and this'll drain Shadow's powers, but I can't get it to work. And then he just left it in, like, oh, I didn't dummy out that code! Shadow Fever!
Maybe it's like when game developers are like, we have this one apple hidden away, like, super far off screen, because if we've removed the apple, the whole thing crashes and we don't know why.
A load-bearing apple.
I had to put Shadow Fever in there, or the whole thing would explode and kill me.
I'll also, adding on to this, it's Eggman being, oh no, Shadow Fever, and Shadow, it's Chaos Blast, so it's the evil bar, so he just starts growling and vibrating angrily for no reason.
Death to all who oppose me.
Which does go hard as a line. I do kind of love it.
No, not Shadow Fever. He's so attractive.
Now we've all got Shadow Fever. I do like the ending where Shadow does karate chop Eggman. Omega also, doesn't he say, Eggman, lock on target?
Locked and loaded.
So, like, the screen cuts and just chops his head off and riddles him with just millions of Omega bullets. The bloodiest pulp on the ground.
The bloodiest egg.
The end.
He's like half out of the Egg Dealer, like trying to crawl too.
I just like the idea that he did it like Shadow. He did it after Shadow chopped his head off, and he was just like,
yes,
there, that showed him.
He would. Omega would just be
make
like,
sure.
Yeah.
Double tap.
He's not getting back up.
Double tap.
Omega, he's headless. I don't think he's getting. As he's still firing.
No, seriously, you have to make sure. I heard once he got resurrected by crawling into a big egg.
I bought extra ammo for this, and I'm using it. Damn it!
That's right. I swear to now.
No, let Omega swear too. He just looks at the screen. Fuck.
Activate cursing subroutine.
Just imagining him jumping into like you know every time you meet a character in the game, it like shows their name and they spin around.
Yes.
And I'm just imagining Omega just spinning around and wheeling around, being like, "What's up, motherfucker?"
Everybody else does like the back turn to turn the camera. He spins like 4 times and then he stops.
I just love Omega. He's great. Oh man, this was also like he has it in Heroes. It's a little bit more subdued, but this is where you start to get to the like, Omega just loves shooting things.
Yes.
That gets carried forward into modern games too.
I have one main mission, but I have 500 side missions that all involve shooting.
I know. I mean, we've jumped around this conversation just because the game and the levels and the layout it's hard to talk about linearly, in a linear fashion because the game itself is non-linear,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think we're okay doing that. I mean, I don't want anybody not to say what they want before we start winding down. But
I mean, I think we've covered most. Like, there's too much to talk about in each of the individual missions, and not all of it really stands out. Just the really funny bits, and I think we've talked about a lot of those.
Yeah, both the like we've said, the overly cringy dub, and also like the ones that are just genuinely funny, like on purpose. And like I feel like we've been able to talk about our big gripes, but my biggest gripes like do not detract from how surprised I am that I pretty much enjoyed this game, which I never, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said no, that's one of the pretty bad ones that I don't want to revisit. It's not as bad as others that came after it, but I'm like, no, man, I think under special circumstances, I think people should go back and play this one. Get the retranslated Japanese version. I think you can somehow play both the reloaded and the retranslated version with Wendy's subs. I think it takes some finagling. It is possible. If not, you can do what I did and you just watch the videos and be able to appreciate that. But yeah, I used to really say like, man, I like Sonic Battle Shadow better. And I still do for some things. I like Shadow and Sonic Battle, even if there's no way both of these can be quote unquote canon, whatever that means for Sonic. But I think on the whole, I do like this as not only a direct follow-up to Sonic Adventure 2, but as a interesting journey of Shadow, realizing that he does not have to base everything he does on his past and has fulfilled Maria's wish, but that doesn't have to be the only thing that motivates him now, which, not to get into it, not going to start calling out goofy Sonic fans, but something I think people don't really understand. Like, it doesn't mean he hates Maria or can never talk about her again. It just means that he's not going to let his past determine his future.
I think people misinterpret the fact that he drops the photo to be like, and now I'm setting my past free, so I'm never going to talk about it again. No, it's just metaphorical.
It's symbolic because he's also on the arc. He is on the observation stage where like the end of Sonic Adventure 2 happens, where the characters are saying goodbye to him. Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Eggman pulled out a gat on Emmy.
And yeah, I mean, that is, I hate to say, but yeah, the English dub probably didn't help with that because he doesn't say the line from Sonic Adventure 2. He says goodbye forever, and how do you fuck that up? It makes me so mad. Oh, but yeah, I again, I'm only speaking for myself, and I feel like thank y'all for allowing me to to rant and rave, but I'm just surprised that I like this game. It's
all right, isn't it?
You have to approach it for what it is, but yeah, if you play the best possible version, I think it's pretty cool, and I do think Shadow the Hedgehog is pretty cool.
It really is, and this game didn't need to happen because I feel like sometimes it's just kind of doing Shadow's story again in a way, but just sort of like, I guess, putting a final note on it. It didn't really need to happen. We didn't really need a Shadow, edgy mid-2000s Shadow game where he kills a bunch of Halo Covenant aliens, basically. Look at their technology. While various innocent Sonic characters applaud his genocide of all of them. That's right, Shadow! Kill them all!
And basically, you can't kill the gun agents, they just lay down on the ground. I even...
all those Andrew Rannells voiced gun because they all sound the same.
Mr. Yuji Naka is all right.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. One of my last playthroughs, I think it was in Westopolis, I did a homing attack on one of the guys and they fell into the bottomless pit, and I was like, yay, I finally killed one, only to move the camera and he's just laying on the invisible death plane with the same
over the bottomless pit.
You can't kill me, GameBuddy, Andrew Reynolds said to you in his voice. Next time on Sonic X.
Man, I really like Andrew Rannells. Just not in anything Sonic. I was just watching I've shouted him out. Has a great character on Invincible, and he was the singing voice of one of in the insane Vought on Ice production on The Boys, the season of The Boys. Yeah, he's it's a like keep the Christ in Christmas horrible like ice dancing thing that has Homelander and whatever, and he is I think it's Homelander's singing voice, and it's really good. I'm like, yeah, Andrew Reynolds, he does it.
He was really good on Fiona and Cake as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was him too, subbing in for Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah. He's the Book of Mormon guy. Like, say what you will about Trey Parker, Matt Stone things, but he made a name. He really made a name for himself in that, and he's a fantastic voice. I just hate him in Sonic.
It's no Street Sharks.
Yes. To bring it back, like that is what we're talking about. That the direction and everything matters so much.
Yes, it really does.
Wasn't he Gamma as well in the Sonic Adventure adaptation?
Oh yes,
doing that same voice he does for all the robots.
Yep, with no voice filter.
I do want to say, even though I didn't get to play the game as much as I want to in preparation for this episode, I do remember playing it a bunch when I first got it, and I remember playing it a lot and then not realizing that I think even though it's like right there in the menu, there's a last story, and so I eventually like took the time to sit down and get to that, and I remember being okayed with the last story.
Yeah.
I did think it was cool that you got to play as Super Shadow and like shoot the Chaos Spirits and stuff like that. I think I can say that I came back fairly positive from this too, like replaying it, because it controls better than I thought it did, or that I remember it did. I still remember like when I first started playing it, maybe like the very first time I played it on GameCube, I was like, oh, these controls are really slippery. Mm-hmm. And now I'm realizing like they're actually a little bit more tight than I think I gave them credit for. It's funny, like we keep talking about like all these like good positive things about the game. The gameplay itself is like still, even though it's better than we remember it and better than Sonic Heroes in some ways, like it's still kind of choppy and sloppy, but
I agree.
Yeah. It's a fun time nonetheless.
It's damning it with faint praise a little bit, but it's fine.
You were saying Midnight?
No, I was just gonna say there's only a handful of levels like we went over before where I'm like, truly, I wish this wasn't in here. Everything else is at least fine. I'm looking at you, Mad Matrix.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, oh boy, that was one that I had to look up how you actually complete the missions because I forgot, and I don't know, except for the dark mission, which is the one I believe. You just have to blow up all the bombs on the thing. The hero mission and the neutral mission is. Man, please someone correct me if I'm wrong. There is nothing that just says, go to the Red Castle, fortress. That's where the end is.
There's nothing for the neutral ending that says that, but then the hero stuff still puts you in the red one at the end, but you also have to do... It's the same final room for hero and neutral if what you're doing is that. But for doing hero stuff, you have to not go up. But if you're doing neutral, you have to get to the upper part, which is like whatever. But then if you're doing hero, you have to get to the Chaos Emerald in the middle, and it's
Yep. It's one of those to where I do agree. I'm on people's side. I'll try and find it. There's a video someone just made it's like less than 5 minutes. It's very like fast-paced, edited, filled with references and memes, but it is about like how you have to learn to play this game. And I agree. I agree with people who say like you do have to think outside the box, but that doesn't make missions like that fun, especially if the game, and like, okay, it's an old game, you can look up guides, that's fine, but there is something to be said, and I can't remember if I had that much trouble with it as a kid, but there is something to be said when the game does just not explain what you're supposed to do, and I think that's valid criticism,
especially when the most that you do get is like, oh, I'm in the pause menu, I want to change which one I'm doing. You get like maybe a couple words
a vague
a
hint.
vague idea of what you're supposed to be doing, and you're like, okay. Another like huge gripe that I do have about the game and how it functions and it tells you what to do, whatnot. Normally in games where there is a set number of things you have to collect or do in a given level, there is not exactly that amount of things in the level.
Oh.
So you get like there's a couple extras as like leeway, so that if there's a couple that are hidden away or there's like more than what is required just in case something weird happens.
Hey, guess what? Guess what? Reloaded puts in the game for you.
Oh my god, do they?
Yes, extra enemies and collectibles, so you don't have to hunt down the one single enemy hidden behind sometimes clipping through the level, and
that was definitely my biggest issue when I was playing.
Because the biggest one, and I know it's probably happened in a couple other levels, but the one that I caught the most is, I believe, is it the Doom or is it the Ark? Our favorite stages.
It was looking back. It was the Doom.
If there's a certain room or a certain section in one of these levels, it's one of the Ark stages. I don't think it is Lost Impact. I think it's the Doom or something, because it's not like the regular gun soldier. It's the bigger mech one. Like I think it's called like the Gun Trooper or something.
Yeah, I think that is the Doom.
It's straight up, if you are too fast getting through certain doors, every other enemy in this one room spawns, except for one gun trooper.
Oh my god. So...
In the Doom. So you are now running around one of the most confusing, air quotes, levels in the game, being like, where is this last guy? But he just never, like, respawns, even if you unload and run back to the place. He's just gone forever. He just never spawned in.
Yeah, is that the one where the hero mission is Maria wanting to heal the injured researchers?
I think.
Yeah, that is the Doom. Yeah, because I had trouble with this going through, going back to... Oh yeah, that's another thing. Does the vanilla game have a select mode where you can select the levels by themselves to play outside of story mode? Okay. I was trying to remember that if that was not a reloaded thing. But yes, I was doing that just to say I did all the missions and got the A ranks, even though I was using some cheats. And yeah, that level is so labyrinthian, and the Maria's like, look at the map on the wall and plan our route. I'm like, honey, that map does not help.
You think that map's gonna help? You think that map's gonna help when we're playing at 480p on a GameCube?
Yes.
CRT, and it's not even a full resolution texture. Yeah, no, we're not getting anything.
Yep. And there are so many little hidden pathways and whatnot. And...
Well, the thing is, Maria can see all of that because she's got those giant eyes.
Although even she says, like, some of her quotes, like, wow, this place is so big, even I get lost sometimes. I'm
even
like,
her, the magic powers.
Her special eyes. My brand. Commercials. Yeah, it's... That is one of the not very fun ones. And God, they want you to defeat 60 gun soldiers.
Yeah. No, like...
That's too many.
Okay, if there were extras in any of the levels to just make it so that weird, like, spawning issues or anything wasn't a problem, then I wouldn't feel so bad. But because it is exactly however many you need to kill is in a level, it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because there will be. I remember I spent and I don't know if I subscribe to the colloquialism that no Sonic level should take more than like 5 minutes to complete, but the Ark levels, it literally like 15-20 minutes if you get lost. Like I remember doing the killed 60 gun soldiers and was missing one, and it was a stupid beetle doing like loop-de-loops in the middle of a room that you could barely see.
You had to like get up.
Like, you
had to get up to like the second level to see him at all or anything.
You little frackum frackum.
Well, the game, the game wants you to commit genocide, do a genocide route. You got to kill all of them.
Yeah, exactly. You thought you were the one in control?
Nope. Never.
You have a bad time. Remember when Undertale... Oh, no, it's still a thing. I still like Undertale.
Oh, yeah. Good. Undertale's good.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Toby Fox's soundtrack again, Jeremy.
Hey, there's a lot of good
Toho Project.
There's a lot of good leitmotifs in this game too.
There are.
Like I said, good callbacks, remixes, and I mean, I really love the when Shadow finally transforms, you got some Live and Learn in there.
Yeah.
That's neat.
such
I
a
like
good
that.
moment.
Yep. Even if, okay, I will say this is just whatever. I was never a fan of the Sonic Heroes models, but they look okay in this game. Not as, they just look plasticky, and I don't like how Shadow's spines are all limp and flopping around, but that's just another personal preference. I think the final boss, I don't know, man. Compared to Metal Overlord, I think it feels more interactive because you have to charge the Chaos Spear to shoot at Doomseye, but it's a little wonky, especially because you can get knocked down on the I think it's the Y-axis, and you can kind of get pushed down into the clouds, and there's no way to get back up. That seemed weird.
that didn't happen to me, but
It is very similar to Metal Overlord in that a lot of it is like you doing stuff to build up a bar to weaken the boss. So it's like, Metal Overlord had the Team Blast bar, Devil Doom is like, you're trying to build up, your chaos power so you can use those, make the fight easier. So it's an interesting kind of interplay where you're not like directly attacking the boss for a lot of it. It's more focused on kind of putting yourself in a position to make the boss easier.
But then you build up your meter long enough, and you're like, okay, finally, Chaos Spear. And he's like, Chaos Control. No, get back here, you bastard.
Oh yeah, I did manage to get him in because I was trying to get an A rank, and I think in Reloaded it has to be under 1:30, which is nuts. I looked up the A rank for the vanilla game because I'm like, what's the strategy? Almost 5 minutes, and this person still got an A rank.
Yeah.
So come on, Reloaded. That's a little redonkulous.
Yeah, how can you say you really got an A rank if you don't even get far enough to hear Eggman say, "Oh, by the way, you are the real Shadow."
You're not a robot. Your ass is made of flesh and blood. But you can get him caught in a loop, which I thought was cool, is if every time you hit him with a full powered Chaos Blast, Doomseye pops up and goes to his other head, this big two-headed monster of, it kind of looks like a devil. And if you make it to the other side, the second he lowers his head down to kind of lock onto you, if you hit him again, you can get him caught in a loop, at least until his bar is halfway done, and then hopefully you can get it again. So, it's definitely not up there as far as my favorite super battles, but it works. Oh yeah, how do we feel about Never Turn Back?
I like Never Turn Back a lot.
I'm glad we turned back to play this game. We didn't follow Shadow's advice because I had a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good song. It's all right.
Yeah, I like it's different. It's more like I don't know. It's kind of like a rocky ballad kind of thing. It's kind of structured differently.
Sorry, what were the lyrics again? Oh yeah, they start with whoa, 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 yeah, whoa, whoa,
yeah.
Whoa, yeah.
I had to bring it up right now because I actually forgot how it went. But as soon as I heard the whoa, whoa, I was like, oh yeah, I like this song.
Well, when I finished it, I was like, well, here I am, made it to the end of you, and yes, I was glad I made it to the end of this game. You know what? I enjoyed this game.
I will never count it among my favorite Sonics, or even the upper echelon of Sonics for me, but it's fine.
How is it in your list of favorite Shadows, though?
Well, I mean, that's a much longer list, Shadow of the Colossus, Shadow of 64.
Shadow of the Empire.
Shadow of the Empire. There's a lot of shadows.
I do, yes. I would recommend this to someone with a long list of qualifications for sure.
Correct. I would also maybe even hazard a suggestion, since I didn't bring it up, I don't think, this whole time. One of the things that kept me sane for doing some of the brain off, like neutral levels or some of the hero levels where it's easy, is the infinite chaos control glitch that exists.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It just makes my life infinitely easier. So if that's something that you're even interested in, it's fairly simple. I would suggest learning that to just make a couple things easier.
Yep. Even with the improvements of the Reloaded mod, like I think even they recommend a list of cheats just to just to not only quality of life improvements. Like, I'm really surprised, or not surprised, it would have been nice in the vanilla game if at a certain point you can just unlock infinite ammo, because at some point, like, the scarcity of using your favorite gun, I don't think adds to any real challenge.
Wow.
It's just, you should be using the guns. Like, Shadow's homing attack should not be your main damage, and if that, you're playing the game quote unquote wrong if that's all you're doing. But unlock infinite ammo. I think there is a cheat out there for you can just have a button combo to fill up chaos control, because especially the neutral ones, like, are any one that's just like get to the goal. It's like, well, you can just skip the level and whatever. Just talking about going past a certain point, like when you are going for that 10th ending, like, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't try and skip past a few things, because it's just repetitive.
Oh, 10.
Yeah,
imagine being that weird. 10.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention another thing Reloaded does is make it so last story unlocks after 3 endings.
What?
Midnight's just like rethinking all his life choices.
No, because I got what I got out of it. I had a good time.
Yeah,
but I definitely, there's definitely some points in there where
a good with an asterisk time.
Yes.
There's some stuff in there where I'm okay. We're doing one of my favorite runs through here, like 3 good stages back to back where I can just do whatever I want. And then I would get through that, and then I had to remember that it shifts down a level just with the way that, I don't know how to explain what I mean by shifts down a level, because
yeah, if you're looking at the graph of levels, you drop down to the hero path, etc.
It would shift down because, again, 001 is all the evil levels, and then 326 is all the hero levels. So, like, the way that I decided to do it is just count from 1 to 326, just go down the list.
Yep.
So it would shift down 1, and I'm like, oh, cool, we get to do Circus Park, Sky Troops, Air Fleet into, like, Gun Fortress. I get to have fun. And then it shifts down to Mad Matrix, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh. Yeah, that is, it is a very unique and interesting part of this game, the way, like, you can do that. And even if you're just going for the 10 endings, like Faulerro said earlier, you can either, you can repeat a lot of routes and just change at the very end, or you can look at it and plan out, like, oh, well, what if I remember that being fun as a kid playing this. What if I tried to go, okay, the first 3 I'll do pure evil, and then, I'll just do the rest. I'll make sure to do hero and end up at, like, the pure hero ending, which is just interesting, and if not, like we said, kind of funny narratively, because it's like Shadow has a change of heart suddenly.
And like an off-screen one too, because it's just random. Like, I've blown up a city. Hold on, I'm going to stop these things from crashing a meteor into the planet. Actually,
I've decided I am no longer evil,
and they just accept it. Everybody's just like, yep, that's Shadow.
That's how Shadow imagines it going in his head.
Yep. I read that when they're right after the last cool pre-rendered video and the last chaos control into the Eclipse cannon, it does go back to all of our characters, and they really are like, whoa, that's Shadow, good for him.
And then Knuckles chases Eggman, and they're like, ah ha 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 ha.
We were almost getting eaten 5 minutes ago.
I know. It's not even. Look, I think the evil gas paralyzing everyone, but then those goofy little barnacles.
Yeah.
Go, my children. Eat.
Couldn't be anything more threatening. It's just the little.
And they're all just frozen in place, but their mouths can move, so they're like, oh no!
Just screaming silently, but also kind of audibly.
These are our versions of chihuahuas. They'll eat your ankles.
Poor Knuckles gets frozen in his punch pose. Got a real bad crick in his neck after that.
Favorite weapon?
Ooh, I think aside from the Shadow Rifle, which is objectively the coolest, bestest weapon in the game, because it's a custom, pistol colored like Shadow, so it's black and red and awesome. I think the Gatling gun, which you can get from the Bigfoot-styled gun mechs, just because it's so huge. It's like 12 feet long. It's hundreds of pounds, and Shadow just holds it with one hand. And
It is the gun equivalent of Sephiroth's Masamune.
Yeah.
Which is also in this game.
Yeah.
That's true.
yep. Oh yeah,
sword.
the the big katana. I really like that one, and if I'm just going for something that's like going to get me through the level, I do just like the semi-auto rifle and the Black Arms equivalent, just so you can hold the button down for full auto fire.
My answer is the gun that saved me every ounce of pain that was in this game, because I didn't get to use the Shadow Rifle at all. The Omochao gun is my homie. It is just the best gun.
Yep. It's like one of the laser weapons in that it fires Omochaos and they bounce around the whole level, taking out whatever they hit.
It'll clear a room in one shot, and you just get to hold like 90 bullets, and it'll just kill everything that is in front of you. And it's nice because you just get to run. You don't have to sit there and be like, the targeting's being weird. It's just Omochao, go, and it bounces around like a lunatic.
And I think those are part of the bonus levels that you unlock by doing. I think it's just making it to a final level and doing an ending,
yes.
And then doing both the hero and dark ending levels them up. Yes. I love the egg vacuum, which
the vacuums are great,
yes.
man.
Yeah.
So you can actually suck up the gun agents, I think.
Yeah, so you can kill them. Yeah. Is it intentionally? I mean, the chicken. Is it a Billy
It's
Hatcher?
definitely
It has
Hatcher
to be a
reference.
Billy
It's
Hatcher.
Okay, thank
the
you.
blue and yellow spotted egg.
Yes, thank you. I was, of course, it's Billy Hatcher. Another. Hey, we should do that as that game. Eventually.
Yeah.
I would play Billy Hatcher again. Is all I'm saying.
Those last few levels of Billy Hatcher, though, woof, those are getting hard.
Yeah, I never beat it as a kid. I might have to. We'll see going back. I feel like the heal cannon is only good for the Doom,
Yes.
where you're healing, so you don't have to carry around the heal capsules, which, according to Maria, is grandfather's greatest invention, along with the bombs he made. But that he had to make those. He didn't choose to.
Yeah, but
sure,
the one
Maria.
thing that weapon does is that if you shoot it at an enemy, they will become neutral towards you and stop shooting you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the gun soldiers will salute you too.
Yeah, and Andrew Reynolds is like, thank you. And then you can shoot him again.
My life is in your hands.
Which is weird. You don't get... So, if you down a gun soldier, heal him, and then down him again, you don't get evil meter for downing him the second time.
Oh, they thought about you were going to do that exact thing.
It only counts the first
So
time.
you get it once per entity in the map.
Yeah. Which I do believe that when you shoot a gun soldier, it's the Japanese voice doing the screaming, and it's the same one every time. That
Ah!
oh boy.
Sorry, just thinking of like noises. Whenever I go back to the first cutscene and Maria's there, and she doesn't speak, she just goes.
Oh yeah, weird.
The sniffling.
That is very weird. They're so prominent too. Like, again, not to pick on anybody, but well, like I said, I played SA2. Just the difference between the Maria and the Japanese actor screaming her name. Same with David Humphrey in SA2. You know, that the Radical Highway flashback. The Maria. Yeah, your friend just got shot. React, damn you.
No, it has to be with the same cadence every time. Maria.
There's also the samurai blade, which is a very long katana.
I wanted to mention that one because, like, even though there's better weapons in the game, like, just rule of cool, I love that one when I first played it.
Oh yeah, I wonder if not, maybe we got to save up and commission. Jay Axer, former Archie artist, created the 9-inch Tails picture. I want a Shadow in Matrix glasses in the overcoat with that blade, man. Just absolutely. The satellite gun, which lets you shoot the Independence Day laser that the Black Arms have.
Used it for that one skip, and again in the Doom, like I said, never again. It's so funny because if you are in, like, say, Westopolis or something, that makes sense. How are you shooting inside a building?
I've got a question for you, Midnight.
Sure.
Well, two questions actually. I'll do the first one because that's quicker. So, hypothetical. Since you have done the unbearable task for this game of getting every single ending, just hypothetical, if Games Done Quick ever asked you to run Shadow the Hedgehog for a speed run or something like that, would you agree to it? Or are you done with this game?
I don't think that I'm fully qualified for that. I'm not nearly as good at as this game as several other people, because I have looked at, like, actual speed runs for this. And it's interesting. I could do it fairly fast, but it wouldn't be like anything crazy. But I could learn a lot of the tricks, whatnot. I would say yes. I think that would be cool. As long as I had some people.
I would want to get Luke on there as your commentary partner. To
have Luke on the couch.
That you have that you're doing one ending today for this event, but you have thoroughly conquered this game.
You have seen every possibility in Sonic and Shadow's potential future.
How many did we win? One.
Yeah.
This was the only way.
The thing is on the GDQ sort of thing, because I think Shadow the Hedgehog has shown up on, like, a side event or in one of the, like, different blocks where they had people donate for obviously doing, like, either hero or evil routes, which I think could be cool.
Yeah.
So the long answer is I would love to do that. I don't think I'm qualified to, even with what I've done, but I would love to do that.
Well, anything is possible.
It's true.
After we've conquered this game.
True.
Yeah. So the other question I want to ask, like, this is kind of a catch-all for, like, anything that. Okay, so basically, like, with all the runs that you did, from everything you did, was there any, like, highlights of, like, anything super cool, anything absolutely crazy that happened in, like, all of your runs that maybe we didn't talk about today that you just wanted to, like, mention real quick, like, just anything that maybe we didn't talk about?
Trying to go back. I mean, before we were, like, recording everything, I was trying to pull up some clips from any of the streams that I did do, and there were some of them that I'm, like, trying to remember. Nothing wild. I mentioned the handful of times homing attack would send me off into the abyss just because it didn't want to lock onto the beetle or whatnot. I saved myself a couple times, like I ran off an edge because the little like edge guard trip thing didn't trigger and he just ran, but light dash functions well, but it also doesn't at the same time where it would only catch one ring, so I was like zigzagging on like a linear line of rings. Yeah. That happened several times. I fell through the floor in, again, my favorite level in the game, the Doom, a lot of times.
Oh boy.
That happened a couple other times, but again, that was because it almost feels like certain levels they wanted you to obviously take it slower, but by playing it fast when you were getting good and running through stuff, it was just like hold, we're loading the next thing behind this door, but the door would still open, and then I would walk forward and you'd fall. Like anything specific that was like wild? No. There were a couple weird physics interactions every now and again, but that's to be expected with this. Like, we mentioned the game crashing during my expert run.
Yes, that you really were going for everything, doing an expert run. And then, God, didn't you say it's Air Fleet, which is pretty up there? That's almost like the 8th or 9th level, and your game just crashed.
Yep, it did.
And you don't save in the vanilla game. You do not save any progress in expert mode, if I recall correctly.
No, you do not.
Nope.
So the one of the only like funny physics things that really happened outside of the other zigzagging, etc. mentioned. Another thing that young me didn't realize again is that there was stuff behind the goal ring in these games, because any of the other Sonic games that I had played, specifically Heroes, it's just the goal ring is the end. So I'm like, oh, I must have missed something, touched it. So in Prison Island there is a whole section after this, because you go like up above the goal ring and go, and that's where the last disc is. But you have the flying saucers in that level because of the weird acid goop that's in Prison Island for some reason. I would jump off of it just randomly to make things faster, just because I wanted to get out of things as quickly as possible. But there was a ramp that would put you over the final disc, and I jumped off. Yeah. But then, for whatever reason, when you are off of the flying saucer, apparently it counts as a ledge, so I had Shadow ledge grab on the saucer as he floated down. Oh, whoa! So it's nothing like game breaking or crazy, but I definitely was just like, okay, that I'm holding on to a vehicle.
Once you push this game to its limit, you're gonna start seeing some weird things.
Which, I mean, the only way that would work is that it does qualify it as like a ledge or something when Shadow's not on it. When that's,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else that was like exceptionally weird, which stands out in this game. No, not really, because there's just kind of a lot of weird stuff that happens sometimes. A lot of it was...
Yeah, it all just kind of blends together after a while, after 320 plus.
That's the problem.
Yeah. I was going to ask, do you have like a favorite line? I think we've hit some of the most well-known ones, but then, I mean, like we just said, does it all just blend together in your brain?
It's all one pile. Damn Fourth Chaos Emerald, of course. Like, as funny as it is, as memed as it is, it's, yeah.
Even if I was going to do like if this game ever got remade, remastered, we did a fan dub, whatever, it's hard not to just leave that in, because there's nothing wrong with it. No. Like, objectively, it's just subjectively in this game, it's so funny.
Yes,
because it's like this. Remember, this game is E10 for ages 10 and up.
And they're like trying to skirt the line as best they can, but like, oh wait, we can do this again because it's been a while in the script. Yeah.
Oh man, my favorite one that makes no sense is when I think it's either before or after, I don't remember, Shadow says to Eggman, I'm going to send you straight to the place you created me from.
Oh my god,
which doesn't make any sense if you think about it for 1 second.
Shadows from hell!
Yeah. Unless he's like, what do you mean, hell? But he's a robot. Do you mean Eggman's workshop? What? And it really just seems like they couldn't say hell one more time.
Sending you
because
back to the Ark? Question.
Yeah, the Ark?
Which is ironic, because I think the boss battle where he says you're going straight to hell was right after that.
And like it's that actually is in the Japanese version too. They say like the afterlife or something like that. But yeah, the easiest way to portmanteau that into English is it's like you're going to hell. But it's just so silly that's straight to the place you created me from. Like even Omega's like, what does that mean?
He just looks at him.
Don't worry about it. It sounds cool.
Bro, no,
Take
it doesn't.
Take a second pass at that one Shadow.
By the way, one of my favorite ones is, and it's stupid, is just the commander saying, "The black creatures will feel their own bloody hell." I'm like, bloody hell, man.
Yeah, that's another one that's just like, yeah, E10.
E10, the army's getting into the, yeah.
And it is so, sorry to go back to, it is so silly that he just shows up on the Ark completely on his own and steps behind Shadow with his service pistol. Like, that's gonna work.
Yeah. And then all Shadow does is like teleport behind him and then exposit a little bit more, and he looks at the gun and gets really upset.
I was just thinking, you can't say teleport.
No, what he actually says is like, if that's true about my past, then I will accept the consequences.
Yes.
Which goes kind of hard, but it's still so, like, didn't show up with like a mech or like a platoon of soldiers. Just how did that even happen?
Just
how are these people getting to Ark?
Like the other thing is, I think that's the boss arena that is just, I mean, a lot of the Ark is just a drop into space, but that's just a floating ring that is a drop into space. How did you get here?
Yeah, I think you might fight the blue Falcon,
whichever one of the dogs it is.
I love that there are two bosses in this game named after F-Zero racers.
Yeah.
Because you've got Blue Falcon and you've got Black Bull.
Yes.
Yeah. I assume referring to GX
Probably.
and AX developed by Sega. Sorry, Andrew Reynolds. That's another one that's really funny when he's like, HQ, come in!
As he's falling to his death. Just into space.
Oh, man.
But yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog.
It's...
Yeah.
You have to approach it with an open heart, Sonic fans.
Not saying it's the best thing in the world, but even as somebody who, again, I know I'm not the only one, but I would not inflict this upon anybody, but even as somebody who has done everything in the game that you can, it's not as bad as people remember it if you go into it just expecting it to be what you think it is, but not being be critical of the game. That's not what I'm saying. Don't do that, but just don't needlessly bash it.
Yeah, you're just like Shadow the Hedgehog. Your memories are faulty about it. It's not about that.
I think there is something to be said, and this comes up on the show a lot, because we are, we're very critical where it's appropriate, I'd like to think. Even me talking about my voice actor opinions, at the end of the day, I blame it on Sega, the corporation, but there is something to be said, and again, why I think this game's legacy was not tainted, but is what it is because there is, if you don't approach this game for what it is, which is a Sonic the Hedgehog game with cartoon graphics, and also Shadow is here and he has a gun and it's very melodramatic. If you don't think Shadow the Hedgehog is a cool character, I would say don't bother.
Yes.
Because you have to go into this game.
You kind of need to meet the game on its level.
If you don't think Shadow the Hedgehog is a cool character, well, you're wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you don't think the intro to this game is the hypest shit, just turn it off right now.
I think that's also getting a little bit, since we haven't touched more of my background in video games. I see it in our notes over here, but just I'm a goober who I think Virgil is cooler than Dante, Zero is cooler than X, Shadow is cooler than Sonic, Vegeta is cooler than Goku. I'm that person. So this game just is kind of not what I want in a Sonic game, but it's got the character that I like more.
I think if you can approach the game with that open mind, I think you can find something cool about
it. There's at least some enjoyable things in here. There genuinely are.
I'm definitely at a point to where when Shadow showed up in the remaster for Sonic Generations and they expounded upon it that it is going to be like a retelling of his past, revisiting those games, that it went from, a couple of years ago, I would have been like, oh man, I don't know about that, to now where I'm like, no, Shadow is cool. The trailer with where he sprouts the venom
I want to know what
wings
that's
and-
about.
Ooh boy, that is so. I love it. I love it.
It's gotten to the point where I would almost be completely okay if the Shadow part of Generations is almost exactly just Shadow the Hedgehog, even with like the level select being the way that it is, or them like intersecting, but being more like fine-tuned. Because I think there
we know there's a hub world in it. At least it's going to be a bit frontiersy, which makes this more Shadow's Fury.
There is like redeeming qualities to this game. If we haven't like touched on any of it just in this, I legitimately do enjoy it. No hyperbole. There is redeeming qualities to this. If it was to be like looked at again by obviously Sega, but a different, more modern take on it, you could definitely do something genuinely cool. Which is, I'm just hyper active. You can talk to me all you want. I'm just here vibrating.
Well, if it's encouraging to me. Like it's what I liked most about, because I have my criticisms with every era of Sonic. I've never said like, oh, I hate the games from like Colors to Forces because they have jokes in them, and or I don't like, or because I don't like the 4Kids cast, I don't like any of the games, even Unleashed. Like, no, I there's something I like in all of these games, and I do like to take, because I still approach Sonic with like a sincerity of liking him. There's something from every game I can like something from, which is why I like how Frontiers calls back to the history of Sonic, and now the follow-up to Frontiers, is this remaster of Generations, which is going back to the history of Shadow the Hedgehog. Just makes me so excited that they can do that. Like, I have an open mind about, reference everything. Like, some of the games aren't good, but like, you can still reference, like, I don't mind if you talk about Sonic 06. There's stuff even in that game I think are cool, like Silver, the character. Like, I'm glad they didn't completely abandon him after that. And anyway, yes, all that to say, I'm also like hyper and hyped up because I liked playing this game, and I'm glad was not as bad as I thought it used to be.
It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's decent. What an episode. This has been really cool, going back and just re-looking at Shadow the Hedgehog, and like sincerely congratulate Midnight on quite an accomplishment. I know we've had like little jokes, but like for real, that's a heck of a thing to do, and that's amazing.
It was a lot. Like I said, it started several years ago, but like legitimately playing it was still only a couple months. But even then, some people would be like, wow, a couple months? I mean, it was, but yeah.
But I just got to say, like, thank you so much for joining us. And as we're winding down, we can just take a breath and we can start plugging our socials.
And I before you do that real fast, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to say thank you for having me in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm just some dude.
Like, as soon as I saw what you were doing for that bet, I'm like, oh, I know where this is going to end up.
No, seriously, Luke mentioned it like almost, it feels forever ago, and then I feel bad because I forgot to get back to you about like recording time, but I was always like, no, I am making time for this. I will be here.
Yeah, no, this was always the plan. I was not going to let you get away.
You can't run from your mistakes.
You can't outrun your past.
You can't turn back.
Sure as hell try.
You are officially part of our celebration of the year of Shadow the Hedgehog.
And I appreciate you all having me on for that. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Good, I'm glad.
I'm glad.
All right, well, you can find me on the socials at RockTheJake, and you can find me on Twitch as Mr. RockTheJake.
And you can find me around the internet as GameBuddy, sometimes with a 123 at the end.
You can find me on the various socials at CyberLink420.
And ultimately, you can find me all across the internet at Faulerro. That's Faulerro.
Love that jingle. And Midnight, where can people find you?
At midnight _ Kai on Twitch and Twitter. I don't really use anything else. The underscore is important, maybe changing in the future, but it'll the name will always have Midnight in it.
All right, cool.
And make sure to send to tweet Midnight directly and just ask why.
If I actually get anybody that tweets at me about this episode or anything, I will kick my little feet in joy because it'll be hilarious. That people even are just like, what?
Excellent.
Follow him for all his
it.
good fate opinions.
Oh god, don't. That will double the time of the thing if I talk about fate or any of the other things I hyperfixate on.
Special thanks, as always, to Amy Waters for the use of our theme song from the album Gotta Go Slow. You can check out more of her work on YouTube and Bandcamp, especially if it's a Bandcamp Friday, and you can also find her on the socials at Amy Waters Music. And we ask you to please remember to subscribe, review, share, all that good stuff. Especially for this one, just comment and say, well done, Midnight, or just like something really good like that. Like, no matter where you're listening to it, just comment and say that, because that would be amazing.
I have a challenge for people for social media engagement. I want you to, on whatever platform, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, I want you to go to listeners, go to Sonic Fan Wiki, Sonic Retro, go to list of Shadow the Hedgehog library sequences, look through the list of all 326 and post your favorite, the name on wherever, because man, they are. Good. I want to see that.
And next time we are going to have another newbie education / quiz show episode, because we had so much fun with the first one, and we're enjoying these sort of original content creation. I don't like that. Let me try that again.
I know, content creation sounds so dirty.
We're enjoying these more sort of original takes on episodes, like the fanfic episodes. Like, those are so fun, and these newbie education ones are also super fun. And yeah, that's going to be just a really good time.
Get ready to learn about Sonic, because we know too
more
much
than you
about
ever
him,
wanted to know.
Yeah.
with special guest quizzer Midnight saying, in this episode on this, or in this level on this run, what did Shadow say 3 minutes into the level?
Make a cameo.
What is the title of route number 137?
It's the Destined Sonic Showdown, by the way.
The ultimate showdown of ultimate Sonic Destiny.
But until then, I have been RockTheJake.
I'm GameBuddy.
I'm CyberLink.
I'm Faulerro.
And I'm Midnight. And this was easier than taking candy from a baby, which I'm completely fine with.
Which is fine by me.
This is who we are.
This has been The Hill is Always Greener, and we will see you on the other side.
I really do want Shadow to meet Akuma now, just to, with their opposite approach to handling babies. We're slowly turning back into King of the Hill talks about Sonic again.
Yeah, basically. Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose I had a learning curve on the controls, but I didn't think the game, it held up when I revisited him.
I do not care for that hedgehog. There is something about him that rubs me the wrong way.
I just like Rouge the Bat. I think she's pretty. I like it when she talks to me.
Dang old red Batman, should have had about 50 nipples, you know what I'm saying? Dang old Stephen, Rouge the Bat, Latinas,
Dad, the trailer for Shadow Generations is out. Come look.
Crying.
All right, maybe we'll put the King of the Hill at the end of the episode.
Please do.
Oh, man.
They brought back Black Doom, Dad.